I'm playing Marvel Legends. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, Secret Leaked. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully deflecting the MCU plot. The bonus game time is 120 minutes. Please keep up the good work. Listening to the belated system prompt beside her ear, Marfa nodded secretly. This time the reward should come from Toby joining S.H.I.E.L.D. Because of her participation, Spider-Man, not Skynet, joined S.H.I.E.L.D., which means that in the near future, the Avengers will have an extra general. And with this relationship, if one day in the future, she and S.H.I.E.L.D. stand on the opposite side, it can be imagined that the current gray superhero, Skynet, will inevitably be more inclined to stand on her side. Sitwell is still an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. on the surface, and naturally he will not talk too much about Hydra in the previous private chat with Marfa. But Sitwell still hinted to Marfa that there are two factions within S.H.I.E.L.D. And Marfa's first task in joining S.H.I.E.L.D. is to accept Natasha's invitation and join S.H.I.E.L.D. This sounds awkward, but Marfa, who has memories of her past life, naturally knows that Sitwell is arranging for her to be an undercover agent. Being an undercover agent among a bunch of top agents, isn't this mission impossible? Getting double the salary and doing the work of a non-staff member, this is too cool. As long as she thought of the two Swiss bank anonymous cards with a balance of $1 million that Sitwell and Natasha had given her just now, Marfa was excited. Coincidentally, at this time, the stock price of Stark Industries has fallen to a critical point because of Tony Stark's disappearance. Marfa threw all her savings into the stocks of Stark Industries without saying a word. If you don't make money, you're a bastard. Although the principle is not much, you can't make much money even if you throw it all in, but mosquito legs are also meat, right? When this money is withdrawn, I must buy a tailing electric car first. No, buy 5, one for each family member, 500 miles on a single charge. The long-distance running champion belongs to tailing. Ha ha ha. Thinking about it, Marfa gradually fell into a dream. The occasional smile on her lips was like riding a bell in the sunset. This is youth? P.S. I will never admit that I am a swindler, never. Marfa was sleeping peacefully at this moment, while Flash was furious at the other side. Pang bang, clatter. In the villa, there were constant sounds of things being smashed, which frightened the maids and servants. Damn Marfa, damn Toby, damn Natasha, and Strategic Homeland Defense. Damn, I can't remember their names, but they deserve it. Angry roars came from the house, and Gamora, who was worried at the moment, could only stand outside the house, looking helpless. Just now, Gamora Thompson relied on the connection she had built over the years and followed the clue of Natasha to finally find the power behind her, the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau. This seemingly ridiculous name, in Gamora's eyes, is like an unshakable mountain, pressing down on his heart. Although the Thompson family cannot be compared with top chaebols like Tony Stark, they can be regarded as upper-class people in New York. Therefore, although special departments such as SWORD, the Strategic National Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau, and District 13 are out of reach for the Thompson family, Gamora has heard of them. In this way, Gamora finally understood why the Underworld Emperor, Kingpin, would be so concerned about the trivial matter of his son getting into trouble with the Maximoff family. It should be the Strategic National Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau that put pressure on Kingpin. In connection with his son's previous description of Marfa easily crushing those Jack David's men in Brooklyn Bridge Park were all wiped out, and soon after Marfa's family moved to New York, Skynet appeared in Queens and northern Brooklyn. Connecting all the fragmented information together, Gamora and Flush vaguely guessed everything. Alice. Flush, it's not that Dad doesn't help you this time, it's really that you provoke someone you shouldn't have provoked. Judging from the information currently available, Marfa Maximoff, Natalia Maximoff and Tobey Maguire are already 3 people with extraordinary abilities. What's more, the other party is supported by the Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau, and the Kingpin gang is also trying to win over the Maximoff family. How can my Thompson family withstand such a combination of forces? Gamora took a puff of the cigar in his hand, exhaled a smoke ring, and sighed helplessly. Since he was a child, Gamora has felt deeply guilty about this son. If he hadn't focused too much on his career and neglected them, Flash's mother wouldn't have died so tragically. Therefore, over the years, Gamora has done her best to meet any request from Flash, just to make her son happy. But now, Gamora really can't do it. Tap, tap, tap. A hurried sound of footsteps came from downstairs, and soon, a middle-aged man with a happy face ran up from downstairs. Dogleg, what are you doing? You are in a hurry. Don't you know that the young master is in a bad mood now? Get out of here. Gamora scolded angrily. No, boss. Good news, good news. Dogleg was obviously in a hurry, and even spoke a little out of breath. Keep your voice down, don't make the young master angry at you. No, boss, listen to me, this news is absolutely. Before Dogleg finished speaking, Flash's door was opened. Flash walked out of the house with a gloomy face, and walked to the side of the lackey with anger. Go ahead, but there's news about that matter. The lackey looked at Flash with a flattering face, and then took out a USB flash drive from his pocket. Master, you are really the reincarnation of Wu Hao. As soon as the lackey came up, he handed over a rainbow fart. If you have anything to say, let it out. Yes, I followed the instructions of the young master and secretly ordered people to monitor his house 24 hours a day. Facts have proved that what you said is right. Tobey Maguire is the Skynet that has been making a lot of noise recently. Then I bought all the surveillance about Tobey Maguire from the time he met Marfa Maximoff to the time Tobey Maguire showed his superpowers. Guess what? Bang! Flash was obviously fed up with the lackey's half-set and half-retained character, and immediately shot him in front of him. Say one more word of nonsense and I'll kill you. Gudong. The lackey swallowed deeply. Through the analysis and comparison of all the surveillance videos, we found that Tobey Maguire was short-sighted before attending the Columbia University Institute study tour, and after that, his eyes no longer depended on glasses. So we bribed the IT of the hotel where they were staying at the time and an internal security guard of the Columbia University Institute. On the night of the study tour, the Columbia University Institute lost 2 super spiders, and on the same night, Marfa Maximoff walked into Tobey Maguire's room with an empty mineral water bottle with 2 fuzzy black spots. The U-disc contains the surveillance video at that time. We asked the technicians to process the video in high definition, and finally confirmed that the 2 super spiders were in the mineral water bottle. The lackey said excitedly. Although it took him a lot of effort to sort out these materials, this is a big secret, and I think Flash will definitely not be stingy. Who else knows about this? A gleam flashed in Flash's eyes, and he immediately took out a check and stuffed it into the hands of the lackey. Don't worry, young master, I have dealt with all the people involved in this matter, including the technicians. Looking at the check for $5 million in his hand, the lackey said with a smile. Very good, I am relieved. You are indeed my most loyal confidant. Bang! After the gunshot, Flash picked up the check again and blew away the smoke still coming out of the muzzle. Dad, did you hear that? Super Spider, I want it. Flash said indifferently. Looking at Flash, who was so decisive in killing, Gamora shuddered. Is this the son he had worked so hard to cultivate? For a moment, Gamora actually regretted doting on his son. Dad? Flash frowned and looked at Gamora. Oh. I know, don't worry, I will definitely get it for you. Chapter 52, Genius Pietro. Pa. The sound of fierce fighting continued to come from the fighting training ground of Central City High School, causing the crowd watching to cheer. Although this scene has been staged for more than 10 days, the crowd of onlookers has not decreased but increased. Watching Natasha's fighting training has become a daily routine for all Central City High School students after school. Pa. Another series of continuous leg wind and fist shadows. After several consecutive failures of launching the invincible scissor kick, Natasha simply stopped using this move and started to fight Marfa head-on. With a spider sense as a backup, plus the results of the training over the past few days, Marfa was able to fight Natasha to a draw for a while. Of course, all this is the result of Marfa not using any other abilities including restraint. Otherwise, a telekinetic restraint alone, without using weapons, would be enough to suppress Natasha. Bang! The end of the battle came to an end with the intersection of the 2 fists. Very good, you have made great progress in the past few days, Marfa. On the contrary, you, Tobey, Natasha said, shaking her head secretly. Of course, this does not mean that Tobey is not strong. From the moment he joined SHIELD, Natasha officially became the fighting coach of the two. Since it is to train fighting skills, it is natural to exclude unfair factors such as super strength. Therefore, the three set a rule that they must fight with a force of about 100 kilograms. In this way, not only can the two be trained to control the force, but it is also more convenient for Natasha to teach the two fighting skills to avoid accidental injuries. But compared to Marfa, Toby, who is obviously more powerful, is more difficult to control the force. The most important thing is that before this, Toby was just an introverted big boy, and sports were his weak point. If Toby did not rely on the advantages of agility, strength and spider silk, it would be unbearable to watch when he really fought. In Natasha's words, it was like a shrew beating a mistress. Kicking the crotch, pulling hair, poking eyes. Marfa was stunned. Fortunately, after these days of hard training, Toby finally looks good. Pietro, did you see it clearly just now? Natasha seemed to have no intention of taking a break, and immediately said to Pietro Maximov, who was watching quietly on the side. Just a few days ago, Pietro, who was slow to realize it, finally discovered the secret that Natasha gave Marfa a special treatment. Born to love fighting, he immediately used this to threaten his younger brother. What a joke, Marfa, your parents agreed to let you go to Mr. Romanov for tutoring, but it was to make you go further in your studies. But you actually learned fighting and made the whole Central City High School buzz. What do you say? I'll give you two choices, either count me in, I also want to learn to fight, no, I mean to learn fighting. Or I'll tell my parents and let them go to Mr. Romanov to have a good talk. So, under desperation, Marfa had to knock on the door of the widow in the dark, which led to today's scene. I've seen it clearly. Teacher Romanov, please give me more advice. As soon as the voice fell, Pietro immediately made a starting posture. Come on, let me see how strong you are. Pa. Another round of fists and palms collided. However, Natasha's heart was already in turmoil at this time. How is it possible? Does Pietro also have superpowers? Please report no. But if so, how to explain his extremely fast speed and outrageous nerve reaction ability? The more the two fought, the more surprised Natasha was. The reaction speed of a normal person is about 0.2 seconds, while the agents who have undergone extreme training can improve it to about 0.1 or even 0.08 seconds. But Pietro's nerve reflexes seem to have no delay at all. No matter how Natasha attacks, he can react in the first time, and rely on his blurry movements to dodge and fight back. P.S. Forget it, I won't say anything, you guys comment. At first, Pietro was still a little flustered by his gangster-like attacking moves, but Pietro gradually adapted to Natasha's moves, and even occasionally imitated Natasha's moves to fight back. At this moment, Pietro was like a sponge that had been dry for a long time, absorbing water as soon as it came into contact with it, and madly squeezed everything out of Natasha. The two of them attacked and countered each other at a speed that hurt the eyes of the onlookers. Unknowingly, the sun had already set. Tick, tick. Beads of sweat kept dripping from the foreheads of Natasha and Pietro. Natasha was soaked all over, and the clothes she wore had already stuck to her skin, and the semi-transparent clothes showed her proud figure faintly. But, that's enough. Today, let's stop here. Natasha didn't expect that Pietro was not only so talented, but also so durable. Even a top agent like her who had seen a lot of things had to admire him. Pietro, I have nothing to teach you about fighting. Next, you have to practice the skills you learned today over and over again, and integrate them into your muscle memory. Maybe you can help me guide this kid with a head full of straw. As she said this, Natasha pointed to Toby, who had already stuck his head into the floor in shame. At this time, Natasha was already considering whether she needed to report today's situation to Nick Fury. A fighting genius like Pietro would become an excellent agent even without superpowers. Okay, Pietro. I didn't expect you to be the most perverted one. You are worthy of being my brother. Marfa walked up and patted Pietro's shoulder teasingly. Unexpectedly, after the slap, Pietro actually lay directly on the ground and fell into deep sleep. Obviously, in the previous battle, Pietro was cheating. After all, Quicksilver's ability is not just physical speed. While moving at high speed, his brain also needs to speed up calculations and transmit information, otherwise it will be common to hit the wall. In order to speed up his learning progress, Pietro obviously used his superpowers to increase the computing speed of his brain to the extreme that he could bear. It is precisely because of this that he was able to drain and empty Natasha in just a few hours. As the eldest of 3 siblings, Pietro has been caring for his younger brothers and sisters since he was a child. Whenever there is a little trouble, he will secretly solve it for Wanda and Marfa. This is also the reason why Wanda and Marfa were rarely bullied when they were in Sokovia, and Pietro became a brave and aggressive school bully. But not long ago, facing a few gangsters, Pietro was repeatedly defeated, almost putting Wanda and Marfa in danger. If Marfa hadn't shown his power in the end, I'm afraid he, as a brother, would. Whenever he thought of this, Pietro felt extremely guilty. For this reason, after gaining superpowers, Pietro would practice alone every day in the dead of night. From physical fitness to strength, from precise control of superpowers to the application and development of superpowers, Pietro did almost everything his body allowed. Everything was just for the future. At any time and any place, he, as a brother, could stand in front of his younger brothers and sisters to give them safety and support. Chapter 53 News. When he got home that day, Pietro had recovered his strength after several consecutive level 3 healing spells by Marfa. But he looked listless and lying on the dining table, which seemed like he had indulged himself too much. Dong, dong, dong. Django knocked on the table. Pietro, what's wrong with you today? This is not like you. Don't tell me you are sick again and want me to take a leave for you. Django said with a cold face. Honey, don't. Pietro is really tired. Natalia on the side hurriedly came out to help. After all, she was also a superpower user, and she was naturally aware of Pietro's situation. It was obviously an adverse reaction of excessive use of superpowers and lack of mental strength. Since the incident at home, Natalia has been paying special attention to the actions of her family, especially the 3 children. After all, they have just gained superpowers not long ago, and Natalia is a little worried. Gradually, Pietro's abnormal reaction naturally fell into Natalia's eyes. No one knows a son better than his mother. Seeing Pietro sweating in the room in the dead of night, Natalia felt sorry for her son from the bottom of her heart. Rebellious, aggressive, and unmotivated, all of this was just Pietro's disguise. Only she, as a mother, understood that her eldest son, who seemed to be irritating on the surface, was no worse than her younger son and was a real man. According to the latest news from the Global Times, a terrorist has recently appeared in the Queens area of New York. As of the date of the news release, 38 victims have disappeared, and most of the missing are young girls. According to eyewitnesses, the terrorist is dressed in black, about 2.4 meters tall, and moves very quickly. There will be some biological toxins and a network of mucus suspected to be protein at the scene of the crime. In the area where he appears, all video surveillance will be hacked in advance, which is suspected to be an organized retaliation against the society. Please keep vigilant, all New York residents, and try to reduce going out after nightfall. Please see a group of brief news below. Recently, Tony Stark, the helmsman of Stark Industries, who has been missing for a long time, has been found by the military in Afghanistan and is being extradited back to the country as of press time. Stark Industries stocks have also risen rapidly as a result, and stockholders have taken to the streets to celebrate. Elizabeth Talbot Ross, Betty, the only daughter of General Ross, a U.S. military general, has recently disappeared near Columbia University. Queens Police Chief George Stacy was recently attacked by a group of unknown people and is currently under further investigation. The TV kept broadcasting the latest news, which made Marfa feel terrified. It was true that she had planned Betty's disappearance, and she had expected Tony Stark's return. But the terrorist who appeared in Queens, Marfa could guess who it was even with her toes. Yes, in Marfa's opinion, with swift movements, black clothes, and a net-like mucus that looked like protein, who else could it be but Tobey Maguire? But why would Tobey hurt someone for no reason? And how could he be 2.4 meters tall? Marfa frowned and thought. Dad, Mom, I have an appointment with Tobey to discuss the thesis on the Travel Society tonight, so I won't have dinner at home. As soon as the voice fell, Marfa immediately ran out the door with her school bag. Wait, Marfa, didn't you hear the news just now? Try not to. Django was worried about Marfa's safety and shouted immediately. Don't worry, dear, Marfa is not as weak as you think. Natalia said softly. Immediately, Django reacted quickly. Yes, Marfa is now a superpower, so it should be no problem to deal with some small fry. Okay, that's fine. At the same time, Marfa had already controlled telekinesis to fly towards Toby's house. Now that he is a member of SHIELD, it doesn't matter if some of his abilities are exposed. Although with Marfa's current strength, the speed of controlling telekinesis to fly is not fast, and even cars can't catch up, but after all, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. In less than 10 minutes, Marfa had already appeared at Toby's door. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. The person who opened the door was an old woman in her 60s. "Who are you?" the old woman asked with a puzzled look on her face. "You are Aunt May, right?" "Hello, I am Marfa Maximov, Toby's classmate. Not long ago, our class participated in the Travel Society activities together. Now, the school needs to submit a report, so I want to come and discuss it with Toby." "Good boy, come in, come in." May has always treated Toby as her own son. Toby was often bullied in his previous school, and May knew this, otherwise she would not have helped Toby transfer to another school again and again. Therefore, May knows how precious a friend is to Toby. Now, seeing Marfa take the initiative to come to her, she is naturally overjoyed. "Child, please sit down for a while, I will call Toby for you." May handed Marfa a plate of fruit and said kindly, "That's too much trouble for you, otherwise you can tell me where Toby's room is, and I will go find him myself." Marfa bowed slightly to express her gratitude, and then said, Okay, you are a very polite child. There are not many children like you now. It's in the first room on the second floor. You go by yourself. Oh, by the way, take the fruit up as well. I don't know what's wrong with Toby recently. He hides in his room alone as soon as he gets home. I'm really worried that he will be bullied at school again. Seeing you come here, I feel much more at ease." May's words are full of love for Toby. For this old woman, whether it is the little things shown in the previous life movie or the first meeting today, Marfa thinks she is a respectable person. No, to be precise, they are both respectable people. One pointed out the path of Spider-Man's life: the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. The other accompanied Spider-Man all the way on his growth path, never forgetting to point out the light for him. Not his own child, but he did better than many biological parents. Although the Maguire family lives in a villa, it can be seen from the decoration and old equipment at home that their family is not rich. Walking on the creaking wooden stairs, Marfa quickly arrived at Toby's door. Without knocking on the door, Marfa knew that Toby had been busy collecting protection fees recently. He said he was in the room, but no one knew whether he ran out of the window. Moreover, the news he had just seen made Marfa very concerned. On the way here, after thinking about it, Marfa had already guessed that this so-called terrorist was probably not Toby. After all, the other party had joined SHIELD and understood the strength of SHIELD. Knowing that there are tigers in the mountain, he would rather go to the Tiger Mountain. Isn't this courting death? Moreover, Marfa knew Toby's feelings for Mary Jane. It was impossible for him to kidnap a lot of young girls inexplicably. Controlling the telekinesis to get into the door lock, Marfa twisted it lightly, and the door opened directly. Hoo hoo, the cool night breeze blew on Marfa's face from the open window, blowing his silver hair fluttering in the wind. At this time, Toby was wearing a self-made Skynet battlesuit, with one foot on the window frame, looking at Marfa at the door with an embarrassed face. Swoosh! 2 white spider webs flew out from his wrists, one stuck to Marfa and dragged her into the house, and the other stuck directly to the door handle. With a wave of Toby's right hand, the door was closed again. Asshole, you scared me into a cold sweat. I was just about to go out when the door was opened. I thought. Toby didn't say anything, and directly clamped Marfa's head with his big arm, saying angrily, Cough cough cough, be gentle, your neck is about to break. Chapter 54 Arachne. The two of them had a fight, and Marfa also learned from Toby that the terrorist who was making a lot of noise in the news was not Toby. This really made Marfa breathe a sigh of relief. The reason why Marfa deceived Toby to collect protection fees was that he just wanted to plant a gray seed in Toby's heart, so that in the future, this Spider-Man he created by himself could become his helper. If Toby becomes bloodthirsty and cruel because of this is not what Marfa likes to see. Marfa, do you mean that someone came to my territory to smash the place and put the blame on me? Listening to Marfa's story about the news he saw, Toby was immediately furious. Without saying a word, he walked to the computer desk and began to look up relevant information. Sure enough, When Toby saw the suspected protein-like web mucus left at the crime scene, he immediately recognized it. Isn't this the same as his own spider silk? For a moment, both of them fell into silence. How about we go find Natasha? She should have more information than those reporters. Marfa proposed his idea, but it was rejected by Toby immediately. No, this is my own business. If you dare to cause trouble in my territory, you must be prepared to accept my anger, Toby said coldly with a gloomy face. This kind of fierce expression was something Marfa had never seen on Toby before. Alice, it seems that the two super spiders have still affected his personality. Marfa thought to himself. Marfa, don't interfere in this matter. Give me a few days, and I will definitely find this bastard out. After saying that, Toby immediately put on his mask again and jumped out of the window, obviously to investigate the terrorist. Oh, this matter is so chaotic. If I go downstairs and leave now, I'm afraid May will find out the clues. Marfa said helplessly, and immediately controlled the telekinesis and flew out of the window. In a villa in Manhattan. Tear, sizzle. But at this time, Fresh was frantically tearing the clothes of a girl who had fallen into coma. If you look closely, you can find that the girl in front of you is one of the missing people on the police's investigation list. Enough, Fresh. Don't make any more mistakes, stop it. Let's go to Ohio to buy a manor and live there in seclusion, while it's still not too late. Don't worry, our family's financial resources are definitely enough to support your food for a lifetime. Gamora watched his son's crazy behavior and regretted it at this time. Just a week ago, Gamora privately bribed the biological researcher at the Columbia University Institute to get him a super spider. The researcher was also a real person. Seeing that the money Gamora gave was enough for him to live a carefree life, he was grateful and actually stole the super spider King Arachne for him. After getting the spider, Flash planned to find someone to study it for him, but he didn't expect that Arachne would bite his finger. Flash felt a sharp pain all over his body and immediately pinched Arachne to death. However, he didn't expect that the spider's venom was too strong. Before Gamora called a doctor, Flash had fainted from the pain. When he regained consciousness, he found that his body had undergone tremendous changes. From head to toe, Flash's body was completely covered by a thick layer of stratum corneum. Under the abdomen that was like a water tank, 8 spider legs completely replaced his original human legs. A pair of arms hanging straight to the ground were full of explosive power. The most terrifying thing was the pair of horns on his head, which looked particularly hideous against Flash's armor. Seeing her son turned into such a horrible monster, Gamora was extremely worried and immediately asked the private doctor who rushed over to check the physical condition of Fresh. But who knew that Fresh had already become extremely bloodthirsty and cruel under the influence of Arachne. Before the private doctor approached, the long spider leg directly stabbed the doctor's heart and pulled it in front of him. Without any resistance, the doctor died in the hands of Fresh. Seeing this scene, Gamora was completely dumbfounded, looking at the monster in front of him with an unbelievable face, and even pinched himself several times to try to wake himself up from the nightmare. But then, Fresh's actions were even more unacceptable to Gamora. But Fresh bit the aorta on the doctor's neck and began to suck the doctor's blood frantically. Just dead, while it's hot. Seeing his son enjoying himself, Gamora was terrified at the time, fearing that his son would pull him over and repeat the doctor's mistake. Fortunately, after sucking blood, Fresh immediately regained his sanity and did not kill his father. From then on, whenever Fresh was hungry, he needed to suck human blood, otherwise he would go crazy and lose consciousness completely. As a last resort, Fresh could only fill his stomach with the housekeepers and servants who had just been recruited. But now Fresh is 2.4 meters tall and huge in size. How can a dozen housekeepers and servants satisfy his food consumption? So, Fresh decided to go out for food. It is worth mentioning that in the process of foraging, Fresh gradually discovered that he not only had great power, but also had extremely toxic saliva from his mouth, and could even shoot spider silk and spider webs from his belly button. After several trainings, Fresh now felt that he had turned into a deadly weapon in the world, and could kill any god he met, and no one could defeat him. Shut up, Fresh said in a hoarse voice, and then he swung his huge spider leg and smashed towards Gamora. This seemingly effortless move actually directly knocked Gamora 3 meters away. Shut up, if you were not still useful, I would have killed you long ago. Humph, those who have bullied me, one by one, I want you all to pay back 10-fold, 100-fold. After saying that, Frush bit the young girl in front of him who was stripped naked, and sucked madly. Ah! The strong pain woke the girl up, but when she saw the horrible monster in front of her clearly, she endured the pain and struggled violently. Scream, resist, struggle, only in this way, your blood will be more delicious. Ha ha ha. Soon, the young girl was sucked dry of blood by Frush, and turned into a cold corpse. However, don't forget that spiders are carnivores. In line with the principle of not wasting excellent ingredients, Frush ate every last bit of it. After a long time, Frush, who was full of food and wine, licked his bloody lips and looked out the window with a gloomy look. Jack David, Tobey Maguire, Natasha Romanoff and Marfa Maximov. I want all of you to become my food, and then I will pull you out and flush you into the sewer. Ho ha ho ha. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Troubled Times. In the office of the director of Trident headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Washington, Natasha presented the latest report to Nick Fury. Nick Fury took the report and simply flipped through it, then nodded slightly. Very good, well done. You have made an invaluable contribution to recruiting two powerful generals for our S.H.I.E.L.D. this time. But when Nick Fury saw Tobey Maguire's hobbies, he couldn't help but frown. What does this hobby of collecting protection fees mean? The black man's head was full of question marks. Ahem. At this point, Natasha couldn't help but blush. Director, this little guy, In short, he is a kind of chivalrous bandit with a moral bottom line. Don't look at him collecting protection fees in Queens and North Brooklyn, but he is also doing practical things with money. At least the security in the area has improved a lot recently. Natasha said in a low voice. Obviously, collecting protection fees is no different from the mafia. Regardless of whether they do anything practical or not, the nature of the matter itself is there, and there is no room for quibbling. In Natasha's opinion, this is also a stain on Tobey. But then again, looking at the world, how many people are not selfish and have no stains? Take Natasha Romanoff for example. You know, she was originally trained as an agent in the Red House of the former Soviet Union, and the relationship between the former Soviet Union and the United States. But isn't she also working for S.H.I.E.L.D. now? Although S.H.I.E.L.D. is not an official agency of the United States, but is affiliated with the United Nations Security Council, the United States is definitely ranked first in terms of indirect influence on S.H.I.E.L.D. Otherwise, why would a headquarters be located in the capital of the United States? Natasha, do you really think that the security in Queens has improved a lot recently? Nick Fury asked after a moment of silence. Isn't it? Natasha thought secretly in her heart. These days, she was either busy helping Tobey and Marfa arrange training tasks, or busy writing work reports for Nick Fury. It was a rare long vacation, so she didn't pay much attention to other things. According to Tobey's style of doing things and his increasingly improved fighting skills, he could easily deal with Queens and North Brooklyn. Nick Fury picked up the feng gouging that Phil Coulson gave him a few days ago, rubbed it on his temple, and then handed a document to Natasha with a helpless look. Take a look first. To be precise, this person can be considered as your student. Find out the whole story and then get rid of him. I will give you the power to issue tasks to your two temporary workers, and you can let them cooperate with you when necessary. After that, Nick Fury walked out of the office. It's a troubled time, it's a troubled time. Nick Fury muttered, but he didn't dare to delay for a moment. According to the intelligence from Coulson, Bruce Banner has returned to the United States secretly with the help of Obadiah Stane. Even now, he and Betty, who has been missing for a long time, are still living in Obadiah's private villa. According to previous intelligence analysis, it was Obadiah Stane, the second in command of Stark Industries, who planned the kidnapping of Tony Stark. It is very troublesome to kidnap your own CEO while trying to win over the Hulk. Especially when you think of the glorious record of Bruce Banner fighting the US military and demolishing homes all the way when he first transformed into the Hulk a few years ago. Nick Fury just feels that he has aged a lot recently. Fortunately, I have no hair, otherwise I'm afraid I would have white hair. Chocolate milk cap. Nick Fury seemed to think of the drink Maria Hill gave him a few days ago, and he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Unlike the tense situation in S.H.I.E.L.D. and Marfa, Tony Stark at this time has transformed into a technology geek, hiding in the seaside villa at 10,080 Malibu Street, California, and concentrating on tinkering with the Iron Man armor, Mark II. Not long ago, Tony Stark was kidnapped by members of the Ten Rings, imprisoned in a cave in Afghanistan, and forced to make Jericho missiles for the Ten Rings. However, with the help of Dr. Ethan, who was also a prisoner, Tony Stark not only regained his desire to survive, but also developed the first generation of small arc reactors and the Mark I prototype. With Mark I and the opportunity created by Dr. Ethan at the cost of his life, Tony not only severely damaged the temporary base of the Ten Rings, but also successfully escaped from the Ten Rings. Although it was just a temporary idea, Tony, who had a strong sense of smell and predictive ability for weapons research and development, had realized the strategic significance of exoskeleton armor at this time. Therefore, after returning to the United States, in addition to eating a long-lost cheeseburger and announcing that Stark Industries would suspend the production and sale of weapons, Tony Stark immediately began to redesign the Iron Man armor. "Sir, this is definitely the greatest invention I have ever seen in this century." At this time, the artificial intelligence Jarvis was constantly adjusting the parameters of the new armor with its powerful computing power, and of course he did not forget to flatter Tony Stark. "I know, in fact, I think so too." Tony Stark was as proud as ever, and drank a glass of Ramani Conti in 1990, saying without any modesty. After a long time, Jarvis' voice sounded again. "Sir, all the parameters have been adjusted according to your needs. Do you need to start building the armor now?" Jarvis said. "Of course, what are you waiting for?" After that, Tony Stark walked to the other site and started to tinker with his second-generation small arc reactor. Because Tony was injured by bomb fragments during the kidnapping incident of the Ten Rings in Afghanistan, many bomb fragments remained in Tony's body. Although Dr. Ethan helped him deal with most of the remaining fragments, the fragments near the heart were beyond Dr. Ethan's ability. Therefore, Tony Stark had to install an electromagnet on his chest to prevent the shrapnel from flowing further into the heart along the blood vessels. However, in the previous breakout, both the Mark I and the first generation of small arc reactors had reached their limits. If they continued to delay, there was no doubt that Tony Stark would die in the hands of those tiny shrapnel. "Hey, Pepper, how big are your hands?" Tony Stark said to the microphone in front of him. "What? I don't really understand." Pepper, who was also in the beach villa and was watching the news about Stark Industries, replied. "Forget it, come down. I need you." Soon, Pepper Potts, Tony Stark's personal assistant and secretary to the CEO of Stark Industries, came down from the stairs to Tony's laboratory. Pepper was a little overwhelmed when she saw Tony lying on the recliner with his upper body naked and holding a small light bulb. "Oh my God. Is this what sustains your life?" Pepper looked at Tony in shock. "It used to be, but now it's just an antique." Tony took out the second-generation small arc reactor that he had just made and was still warm. "This is an upgraded version, which will continue to sustain my life in the future, but now I'm in some trouble, and I need you to reach in, pull out the short-circuited wire, and replace it for me." Looking at Tony's painful face and the fist-sized hole in his chest, Pepper felt as if her heart was being tightly grasped and it was difficult to breathe. "Oh my God." However, just as the two of them were in love, "Sir, it has just been detected that Obadiah Stane has used a large amount of company funds to purchase a lot of biological research facilities. Do you want to contact Obadiah?" Jarvis suggested. "Oh my God, Jarvis, I think I have to upgrade your system. Do you think I have time to take care of this little thing?" Pepper, continue. Tony said this, on the one hand because he really couldn't take care of anything else at the moment. Of course, the most important thing was his trust in Obadiah. After all, since Howard Stark, Obadiah has been working for Stark Industries, and Obadiah has been working diligently for decades. In Tony's eyes, Obadiah is his uncle. On the one hand, there is money that is worthless to Tony, and on the other hand, there is his uncle who works hard for him. Tony obviously won't doubt Obadiah. Chapter 56 Recruiting Tools. After leaving Toby's house, Marfa had no intention of chasing Toby. After all, Toby is no longer the same as he used to be. Not to mention the physical attributes of Spider-Man in the original plot, his current fighting skills alone make him a rare opponent in Queens. Since he had received a hint from the Ancient One before, Marfa naturally needed to make some adjustments to his course of action. Without the potential danger of the Ancient One, Marfa can now let go and earn some cards. First of all, the one closest to his home and the one with the most operational value is naturally the big boss, Dr. Samuel Stern, that is, Mr. Blue, the netizen who appeared in the original plot of Bruce Banner. In order to solve the problem of the Hulk in his body, while working in Brazil, Banner met a doctor who was also quite accomplished in biology through the internet. The two hit it off and had a sense of mutual appreciation. After several hesitations, Banner, who used Mr. Green as his online name, finally mailed his blood sample to Samuel, and with the help of Samuel, barely controlled the Hulk in his body by injecting inhibitors. However, what Banner didn't know was that Samuel Stern, a doctor in the Department of Cell Life at Graben College, also had his own ambitions. Looking at the world, men pursue nothing more than money, fame, power and beauty. For Samuel, his biggest dream and pursuit is to win the Nobel Prize and record his name in the annals of history. For this reason, in private, Samuel Stern secretly used the blood sample sent to him by Banner to cultivate a whole warehouse of serum. And one of Hulk's enemies, Abomination, is the product of the fusion and mutation of these Hulk serums and the Super Soldier Serum reproduced by General Ross. Marfa remembered that when watching the movie The Invincible Hulk, the Easter egg at the end of the film was that Samuel Stern mutated because his head was infected with Hulk's serum. It's just unclear why the Marvel movie didn't continue to dig into Samuel's story in the direction of the big boss, which is a great pity for Marvel Comics fans. But one thing is certain, if Marfa destroyed Samuel's warehouse now, then the Abomination would not be born again, at least not at this time. For such a major event that directly deleted an entire movie, I think the game points rewarded by the system must not be too few. Marfa thought secretly in his heart. Unlike other plot characters, Dr. Samuel Stern is a professor at the famous American University Graben College. A lot of his information can be found on the website of Graben College, of course, including his home address. Soon Marfa had arrived in the Harlem area of Manhattan. Following the house number, an inconspicuous small house quickly fell into Marfa's sight. It's here, that's right. With the help of telekinesis, ordinary locks are no different from open doors for Marfa, and soon Marfa entered Samuel's home. It has to be said that Samuel is a complete scientific research maniac. In a space of less than 200 square meters, at least 150 square meters are filled with various equipment, desks and chairs. Even Samuel's bed is directly placed on a vacant space in the research equipment. Talent. Originally, Marfa was planning to kill Samuel directly to completely eliminate this hidden danger and earn a lot of points. However, after scanning Samuel's room, Marfa changed his mind. If possible, it is definitely more meaningful to attract such talents for one's own use than a corpse. Boom, clatter. The sound of flushing the toilet came from a room. Haha. This guy is really careless. I'm at his house, and he's still in the toilet. Marfa complained in his heart. Soon a figure in a blue sweatshirt walked out of a cubicle. You, who are you? How come you are in my house? Seeing Marfa, Samuel was a little flustered. After all, he had a lot of Hulk serum at home. Samuel, who regarded these as treasures, was nervous when he saw the intruder. Marfa did not answer Samuel, but looked at the person in front of him with a playful look. But seeing that his body was thin and small, it was obviously the result of staying in the laboratory for a long time and lack of exercise. His slightly messy blonde hair also showed that he rarely paid attention to his appearance. Well, not bad, a standard tool man. Marfa gave a fair evaluation. But Samuel heard this, but it was full of sarcasm. What a joke, he was a master with 4 doctoral degrees, but he was evaluated as a tool man. At this time, Samuel had already marked Marfa as a villain in his heart. In the United States, if you break into a private house without the owner's consent, according to the law, you can directly shoot the intruder, and you don't need to bear any legal responsibility. Samuel did the same thing. He took a long-barreled rifle from the wall and pulled the trigger at Marfa without saying a word. Obviously, Samuel had been mentally prepared for such a situation. Samuel was naturally very concerned about the treasure at home that was related to his winning the Nobel Prize. There were no less than 5 long-barreled rifles hanging on the wall, and each one was loaded with bullets in advance. Bang bang. With 2 gunshots, 2 small-caliber bullets flew towards Marfa. Hell, Marfa didn't care about it. With his current telekinetic strength, ordinary firearms couldn't penetrate his telekinetic barrier at all. If you want to penetrate his current telekinetic barrier and cause damage to Marfa, at least a large-caliber gun or sniper rifle can do it. Marfa raised one hand forward, and a telekinetic barrier with a thickness of more than 1 meter blocked him. The two bullets were like a drop in the ocean. After penetrating about 30 centimeters, they stopped in midair. Samuel couldn't believe his eyes. Obviously, what he saw and heard now was beyond his cognition. All along, even when studying the Hulk serum, Samuel firmly believed that science could explain everything. Or to put it another way, for most scientists, science is faith. There is nothing that cannot be explained by science. If there is, it is just that the current technology cannot do it for the time being. But the actions of the person in front of him completely violated the laws of physics and completely exceeded the scope of science. The faith of many years was shattered at this moment. For a moment, Samuel was a little crazy. He quickly took out the bullets from the ammunition box hanging on the wall and reloaded them. Bang. Loading. Bang. Dot. He kept shooting at Marfa like crazy. Fortunately, he had enhanced the soundproofing of the whole house for the experiment, otherwise the neighbors would have called the police when they heard the dense gunfire. Finally, the bullets in the ammunition box were used up, and Samuel collapsed on the ground. He just stared at the densely packed bullets floating in the air in a daze. Have you had enough fun? Shinra Tensei. With Marfa's urging of telekinesis, the bullets suspended in front of him immediately bounced towards the wall on one side under the impetus of telekinesis. Swish, swish, swish. In just a moment, countless bullet holes appeared on the wall. Have you had enough fun? Let's sit down and have a good chat? Marfa was still very confident in recruiting Samuel. It can be seen from the original plot that Samuel was a person who is afraid of death. Once he followed Marfa, with his advantage in knowing the plot and the assistance of the legendary system, it can be imagined that there will be a lot of experimental materials for Samuel to study in the future. Under the carrot and stick, how could a person who is afraid of death and pursues fame and fortune not be tempted? Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully deflecting the MCU plot. The bonus game time is 1,200 minutes. The current remaining game time is 1,340 minutes. Please keep up the good work, host. Chapter 57 KTV Bloodbath. Coming out of Dr. Samuel Stern's house, Marfa's face was full of smiles. Just now, he not only successfully recruited a high-quality tool man, but also harvested a warehouse full of Hulk serum. Fortunately, these serums are not legendary props, so they are placed in Marfa's package space, occupying only 5 grids due to different concentrations, and the weight of each grid is only symbolically given 1. Item stacking is really a practical function. Marfa thought secretly in his heart. This trip out can be said to be fruitful for Marfa, but the price paid is not small. In order to recruit Samuel, Marfa waved his hand and took out $9 million from the $10 million that he had just cashed out from the shares of Stark Industries Group. After all, New York is a troubled place, and it is obviously not a wise move to place Samuel here. Therefore, Marfa sent him to Cambridge, Massachusetts, next to New York State, where MIT is located. With Samuel's ability, it is obviously more appropriate to live there temporarily. As for the $9 million, firstly, it was used as research funds to allow Samuel to continue to study the Hulk serum and strive to control it as soon as possible. Secondly, if Samuel was asked to move, he had to give him some resettlement fees, and his own tools had to be well taken care of. Poor Marfa, the money had just arrived and it flew away before she could even warm it up. Alice. I am really destined to be a hard-working person. Marfa sighed. On the other side, in a KTV in Queens, blood was flying everywhere and flowing like a river. Ha ha ha, food, it's all food. Flash casually pulled the body of a hostess from the ground, and bit the aorta at her neck with his big mouth, enjoying the pleasure of drinking blood crazily. Pa. It smells so bad. After discarding the body aside, this time Flash picked a female corpse with a pure appearance. Bah. Not as good as the one just now. Shaking his head helplessly, Flash took 8 long spider legs and walked slowly towards the deepest private room. Flash's purpose is simple: revenge. He will not let go of anyone who has bullied him. Obviously, among these people, there was someone who had pressed him to the ground and even led his younger brother. As long as he thought of the pain in his back garden that was like a tearing in the past few days, a sense of humiliation and anger rushed into Flash's head. Jack David. Jack David. He kept moaning in his mouth, and the bloodshot in Flash's eyes gradually burst out. Obviously, Flash could no longer suppress the desire to kill in his heart. The grade of this KTV is one of the best in Queens. With the support of the Kingpin gang, no one dared to come to the door to cause trouble. The owner of the KTV is a wise man, who knows who can be provoked and who cannot be provoked in New York. Among those who cannot be provoked, Jack David is one of them. As the head of the Queens branch of the Kingpin gang, Jack David is the one that the KTV owner needs to take special care of. Whenever Jack comes, he will be given the best private room and the most beautiful girl. Inside the KTV private room. Take me to your heart, take me to your soul, give me your hand before I'm old. Jack is having fun with his brothers while hugging a bartender. Just yesterday, Kingpin summoned him again, first praising him for doing a good job before, and then urging him to win over Natalia as soon as possible, preferably to bring her into the Kingpin gang. This made Jack David very happy. What kind of person is Kingpin, the emperor of the underworld? It's like in ancient times, a local official was summoned by the emperor twice in a short period of time, and even praised by the emperor. For Jack, this is simply the most glorious moment of his life. For this reason, Jack, who had just returned from Jinbing, gathered a dozen of his confidants and held a celebration party in KTV. On the one hand, it was to celebrate that his family had escaped from the crematorium, and on the other hand, it was also an opportunity to teach his younger brothers a lesson and show off his glory. At this time, everyone was a little drunk, and some of them who were not good at drinking could not stand steadily. Brothers, come on, have another drink. I wish us to complete the boss's task as soon as possible. You, let's rise step by step together. Jack pointed at everyone and said with a little drunkenness. Come on. Cheers. Everyone raised their glasses. Bang. The door of the box was kicked open, and it directly pressed on one of the younger brothers. The KTV owner who was standing by and drinking with him thought someone was coming to make trouble, and immediately frowned and rushed to the door of the box first. Who is so blind that he doesn't know that brother Jack is in there? As soon as the voice fell, a pungent smell of blood penetrated into his nostrils. Then, before he could react, a sharp spider leg pierced his abdomen. You. The KTV owner looked out the door, enduring the severe pain in his abdomen, and saw a monster with horns on its head, scales on its body, and 8 legs looking at him with a murderous look. Strange. After all, he couldn't finish the last sentence, and the KTV owner closed his eyes forever. At this time, everyone in the box also reacted. It happened suddenly, and everyone could only take out pistols and daggers from their waists and look at Fresh with a wary face. Where are you from? Don't you know that we? Before the gunman finished speaking, another long spider leg attacked his face at lightning speed. Before everyone could react, the tip of the spider leg had already pierced his throat. Shoot. Quick, shoot. Jack, who saw this scene, took 2 steps back subconsciously, waved his hand and asked his younger brother to go first. After being in the underworld for so many years, Jack can be said to be well informed. Back then, Jack David was one of the 13 guardians in the Kingpin gang. He even once held 2 machetes and hacked from Queens to Brooklyn for 3 days and 3 nights, with blood flowing like a river. He slashed with his hands and knives without blinking. But even so, he was frightened by the scene in front of him. It was because Flush's appearance at the moment was too horrifying. Can you believe that there is a corpse hanging on one leg? Can you believe that there are still a lot of minced meat on his body? Can you believe that he is chewing half of his intestines in his mouth? At this time, the hostesses in the box had been scared and hid in the corners and trembled. Squeak. The toilet door of the box was opened. But a half-naked hostess walked out of the toilet with a lustful look on her face. A younger brother following closely behind him was still buckling his belt at this moment, completely unaware of the depressing atmosphere in the box. Big brother, what's the matter? The man saw that everyone in the box was holding weapons and ready for battle, and shook his head with a little bit of alcohol. However, as soon as the voice fell, a long spider leg stretched out directly, and the sharp tip of the spider leg passed through his neck. With a trace of blood, a bald head fell to the ground. Shoot. You bastards, shoot quickly. Jack David was the first to react and hurriedly urged. In an instant. Bang 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 bang. The gunshots rang out, and dozens of bullets poured towards the position where Flash was standing. But a white line shot out from Flash's belly button and stuck directly to the door that he had just kicked to the ground. Then the spider silk retracted, and the door blocked all the bullets. Jack David? Do you still recognize me? P.S. Please urge me to update and give me gifts, Even free gifts are fine. Your support is the motivation for me to write. Chapter 58 Miserable Jack. You are. Jack stared at the monster in front of him with wide eyes and a face full of horror. Ha ha ha. It seems that you recognize it. Today I have to thank you for taking care of me. Flash's voice was slightly hoarse, and he looked at Jack David in the crowd fiercely. Who are you? Do we know each other? But Jack's answer pushed Flash's anger to new height in a short moment. In fact, it was no wonder that Jack didn't recognize Flash. The main reason was that Flash's body was almost covered with scales and keratin at this moment, and his body shape was completely different from before. Not to mention Jack David, if he hadn't witnessed the process of Flash's transformation with his own eyes, I'm afraid even his father, Gamora, wouldn't recognize him. I'll fight you. At this moment, as if he couldn't stand the oppression in the private room, a younger brother rushed towards Flash with 2 butterfly knives he carried with him. Looking for death? Swoosh. The next second, accompanied by a line of blood across the sky, another HUD rolled to the ground. Everything happened so fast that Jack didn't remember when he had seen this killing god in front of him until now. Pulindong. Seeing the monster in front of them so ferocious, everyone in the box couldn't help but lose their fighting spirit for a moment. Guns, batons, knives. Everyone threw their weapons to the ground at the same time. This big brother, please spare us, we are just running errands for Jack, the bastard, as long as you spare us, we will kill him for you. One of the clever little brothers knelt down and said, Yes, this big brother, please spare us, we will kill Jack's family for you tonight. That's right, Jack's daughter is pretty, I'll catch her for you, braised, steamed, fried, whatever you want to eat, I'll cook for you. Everyone echoed at once. You bastards. Aren't you afraid of the boss's revenge? Seeing his confidants betraying him one by one, Jack David roared immediately. Since joining the Jin Bing gang, Jack David never thought that he could enjoy his old age, but this does not mean that he can tolerate others touching his family. That is why Jack was so nervous and scared when he was summoned by Jin Bing for the first time, and later he vented all his anger on Flash. It is better to live than to die, Jack, you caused this yourself, why should we take the blame with you? Don't worry, we will do this very cleanly, and then we will say that you betrayed our Jin Bing gang, maybe we can even move up. Didn't you do the same thing back then? How did the boss Zoffy Blair die? Do you think we don't know? One of the younger brothers retorted. Ha. Looking at Jack David's deserted appearance, Flash felt relieved. Okay. As long as you strip Jack David clean, and then take turns to stab his intestines, I will let you go. After thinking for a moment, Flash groaned. This. Everyone's face changed when they heard it. But without too much hesitation, the group of brothers who were kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy stood up one by one. Then they walked towards Jack David with ill intentions. Jack, the brothers have no choice. To be honest, we are really not interested in you, but if your sacrifice can save everyone's life, I think you can rest in peace. The little brother standing in the front rubbed his palms and walked towards Jack with a wicked smile. No, you bastards, I treat you well, how dare you? Jack David seemed to have seen his miserable end at this time. He retreated again and again with horror on his face, and subconsciously covered his butt with his hands. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, Jack's eyes widened suddenly, and he looked at Flash in disbelief. I know, you are Flash Thompson. You can't do this to me, you will be punished. Jack roared. You just remembered who I am now? It's too late. Won't you do it? Do you want to taste the taste of a head falling off? Or do you think I just didn't eat enough and want to give me a few arms to taste? Flash urged. Brothers, hold him down, we will go one by one. Someone shouted, and a group of people rushed up and started to do things to Jack. At the same time, Toby, who was wandering among the many buildings in Queens, also felt his heart tighten inexplicably, and an ominous omen immediately surged into his heart. What's going on? Why do I have an inexplicable palpitation? Toby thought secretly in his heart, but his figure continued to swing forward without stopping. The palpitation is easing? As Toby moved away from the previous position, the feeling of uneasiness just now also faded. No. Toby suddenly woke up, turned around and swung in the direction he came from. Is it true? The feeling of uneasiness just now came from that direction. Guessing something vaguely, Toby immediately accelerated forward following the strong feeling of uneasiness and fear, and soon arrived at the door of a luxurious KTV garden club. Looking at the flashing neon lights at the door of the KTV, the feeling of uneasiness in Toby's heart has reached its peak. This is the feeling, no doubt. Confirming in his heart, when Toby was about to walk into the club, a strong and pungent smell of blood made Toby feel nauseous. Oh no, something happened. Immediately, Toby no longer hesitated, and immediately resisted the feeling of nausea and ran into the club. Pushing open the door of the club, a trickle of blood flowed on the ground like a stream, and there were bones, broken flesh, broken limbs, and even internal organs everywhere. Toby was shocked by the scene. Stepping on the blood all over the ground, Toby tried to calm himself down and walked forward slowly. However, as his footsteps went deeper, the bloody scene became more and more horrifying. What is this? Suddenly, Toby stepped on something soft and looked down. This is how inhumane the murderer is. I have walked all the way here and have not seen a complete body at all. Toby murmured. At the same time, as Toby approached, Flash on the 5th floor also had a heartbeat, as if he sensed something. As both genetic mutants of super spiders, Toby and Flash inexplicably have a connection. Flash was better, after all, he was using Arachne, the king of super spiders. However, for Toby, this induction was an invisible pressure from the superior to the inferior. As long as he was close to Flash, Toby would naturally feel a palpitation in his heart. It was like a student in a classroom. If the head teacher was outside the classroom window and secretly poked his head into the classroom, some students with sensitive perception would inexplicably feel daunted even if they didn't see the head teacher. In the KTV box, Jack David wailed continuously, accompanied by the crazy laughter of his group of confidant brothers. You do a good job. I'm going to go out for a while. If I come back and find that you're lazy. Swoosh. Before Flash finished speaking, a white spider web shot out from his belly button again, and one of the brothers who always tried it lightly was caught in front of him. Puff. The spider leg pierced through the head, splashing brains all over the floor. Okay. We will. The younger brother who was working at the moment shuddered suddenly, and then he didn't care whether it hurt or not, he clenched his teeth and started to drive the stake. Toby, it should be you. I didn't expect that you would come to my door before I went to find you. There is a road to heaven but you don't take it, there is no door to hell but you insist on breaking in. Today I will show you who is the king of spiders. Chapter 59 Toby vs. Flash. Snap. After turning off the power switch, Flash quietly nestled at the stairs, planning to launch a surprise attack on the newcomer. As Toby's footsteps got closer and closer, Flash became more and more certain of the newcomer's identity. Who else in the world could have such a blood resonance with him, except Toby, who called himself Skynet and collected protection fees everywhere. Tap 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 getting closer. With his keen perception, Flash could still detect Toby's approximate location even without using his eyes. Now. Suddenly, Flash stretched out his spider leg towards the black shadow that flashed before his eyes. Puff. The sharp spider leg directly pierced the black shadow's body. Feeling the pleasure of entering the flesh and the beauty of blood sliding down his legs, Flash couldn't help but feel happy. Wait, that's not right, why didn't the other party cry out in pain? And the feeling just now was cold. At the moment when Flash reacted, a strong flashlight shot into his eyes. Flash, who was used to the darkness, suddenly lost his sight under the strong light. Bang! A powerful punch hit Flash's face. After the punch, before Flash could react, another whip kick hit Flash's neck hard. Flash roared in pain, and his huge body retreated rapidly under the rapid running of 8 legs. Tisk, such a slow reaction. In the darkness, Toby tried to suppress his breathing to prevent Flash from discovering his figure. It must be said that Flash's action of pulling the power switch just now was extremely stupid. Flash's starting point was to take advantage of the darkness to launch a sneak attack and kill Toby with one blow. However, he overlooked 2 fatal points. First, Arachne, as the king of super spiders, could have crushed ordinary super spiders in all aspects. However, everyone has different physiques and genes. While gaining unparalleled strength, venom, spider silk, spider legs and other abilities, Flash's genes also rejected the ability of spider sense, and due to his body size, he was slightly inferior to Toby in terms of agility. Second, unlike Flash, Toby received professional agent training from Natasha, And since he was an agent, he was naturally not only good at fighting, lurking, concealment, night combat, secret codes. These are all necessary skills for a qualified agent. And what about Flash? Although he has 8 spider legs as weapons, although he has far more power than Toby, and although he has highly toxic venom, he is just a playboy and a student in the end. Therefore, in the dark, Toby can not only accurately judge Flash's position based on the sound of Flash's breathing, but also control his own breathing through professional skills, and even weaken his heartbeat. Coupled with the spider sense's foresight of danger. From the moment Flash turned off the switch, his defeat was doomed. The shadow that he had pierced before was just a half-body that Toby had picked up from the 3rd floor. Fortunately, Flash was not stupid. After the sneak attack failed, he had already noticed that Toby had a way to hide himself. The resonance between bloodlines can only roughly determine the direction, but cannot accurately determine the opponent's position. Thinking of this, Flash made a decisive judgment. I saw its 2 spider legs slap forward suddenly, and the force of about 50 tons immediately collapsed a large part of the wall in front of it. The bright moonlight shone in from the hole, illuminating the entire passage, and Toby's Skynet combat suit with a black background and white stripes also came into Flash's eyes. Oh my god. What the hell is this? Like Flash, it was not until this time that Toby really saw the man-eating monster opposite. What the hell? Ho ha ho ha. The whole KTV was filled with Flash's crazy laughter for a while. Tobey Maguire, die? Knowing that villains are always talkative, without further ado, Flash immediately rushed towards Toby with his 8 spider legs. But seeing that 4 of his spider legs were on the ground, he kept his body standing, while the other 4 spider legs and hands attacked Toby tightly. Bang, 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 bang. A series of attacks like a storm immediately enveloped Toby. As the saying goes, 2 fists can't beat 4 hands, not to mention that Toby was facing 4 spider legs and a pair of big hands. Although Toby barely maintained his undefeated situation with the help of spider sense and the fighting skills learned from Natasha, the corridor of the KTV was too narrow after all, and Toby's agile figure could not play any advantage at all, and Flash's strength was originally stronger than Toby. After several rounds of offensive battles, Toby felt his arms numb and was a little unable to resist. Looking at the corridor again, it had already become dilapidated under the attack of the 2. There were huge holes on the walls, ceiling, and ground, which were the masterpieces of the 2 people's battle. HMPH, you have some skills. Fresh groaned. As soon as the voice fell, a very thick white spider silk suddenly shot out from Fresh's belly button and directly wrapped around Toby's waist, who was busy dealing with his spider legs. Ha ha ha, you're finished. After saying that, the spider silk suddenly pulled back and pulled Toby directly in front of him. Go to hell. As he said that, Fresh opened his stinking mouth, revealing 2 long fangs, and bit Toby's body. It happened in a flash. When Toby saw the fangs in the monster's mouth, he was immediately horrified and subconsciously stretched out his left arm towards Fresh. In an instant, a stream of white mucus shot out from Toby's left wrist, and the vast amount immediately filled Flash's mouth. PFFT, PFFT, PFFT. Flash immediately began to spit out the white spider silk mucus in his mouth, hoping to poison Toby with his fangs after spitting it out. However, just as he was spitting out the mucus, Toby's left hand immediately shot out another spider silk, which was wrapped around Flash's body. Then he kicked his legs towards Flash's abdomen, and the whole person retreated backwards at a rapid speed like an ordinary cannonball. When the length of the spider silk reached its limit, Toby immediately grabbed the spider silk with his left hand and pulled it hard. Using the elasticity of the spider silk and its 30-ton force, Toby's body flew towards Flash's face at a speed several times faster than the retreat just now. The right fist was charged. Bang! With a dull sound of impact, Toby's fist hit the left side of Flash's face. Kirakara. Under this powerful attack, the stratum corneum on Flash's left face immediately appeared with countless cracks like a spider web. Bang! Another punch followed. Pa! The stratum corneum was completely shattered, revealing half of Flash's face. It's you? Flash Thompson. Seeing the appearance of the monster, Toby immediately fell into stagnation, looking at the other party with an unbelievable face. How is it possible? How could you? Toby never thought that the monster who committed crimes everywhere in his territory and even bloodbathed the entire KTV would be his classmate Flash Thompson. While Toby was in shock, Flash finally recovered from the dizziness. It's me. What can you do? You and Marfa broke my legs together, and I became a useless person who can only rely on a wheelchair to live. It is also because of you that I was retaliated by the Kingpin gang, and I. As if recalling some unbearable scenes, Flash's expression immediately became more fierce. Why? Why can you deprive me of everything openly and enjoy the applause with peace of mind? While roaring, Flash suddenly curled up his 8 spider legs, simulated like a spring, and suddenly exerted force to launch his body towards Toby. In mid-air, a large net shot out from his belly button, directly wrapping Toby in it. Bang! The huge body pressed down on Toby tightly, and the 4 spider legs nailed Toby's limbs to the floor respectively. A trickle of blood flowed out from Toby's 4 wounds. No, Flash, have you forgotten? I said, we are friends. Toby struggled and roared. Friend? Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. After laughing, Flash bit Toby's chest, and a large amount of venom was injected into Toby's body through his fangs. After doing all this, Flash never looked at Toby again, and staggered out of the KTV. The reason why Flash injected the venom into the chest instead of directly into the neck was that Flash planned to let the venom slowly erode Toby's whole body, so that he could experience the pain. If Toby's head was twisted off directly, it would be too easy for Toby. After all, Flash had experienced Toby's strength in the previous battle, and that level of strength was not enough to break free from Flash's spider silk, which was much stronger than Toby's. What's more, Toby was just a crippled limb. Feeling the pain he had once experienced and slowly dying in despair, this was what Flash liked to see more at this time. Chapter 60 Abba Abba. Am I going to die? We clearly agreed to be friends in the future, Flash. Toby lay quietly on the ground, covered in blood, with hideous wounds, and a gossamer breath. The cold moonlight sprinkled on Toby, and gradually, under the erosion of the venom, Toby felt his eyelids getting heavier. Cough. Cough. At this moment, an equally weak cough sounded from a private room deep in the KTV corridor. Then, a staggering figure swayed and walked towards the stairs where Toby was. Help. Help me. Toby shouted with his last strength. Finally, after an unknown amount of time, the figure of the man gradually became clear. There was no doubt that the person who came was Jack David, who had survived by chance. Although he had suffered inhumane torture from his brothers, Jack's back garden was still bleeding. However, after all, he was one of the 13 guardians who didn't blink for 3 days and 3 nights. In terms of fate, Jack asked himself that he had never lost to others. Staying alive, I must stay alive and inform my daughter alive. I must not let those bastards ruin her. She is only 10 years old. This is Jack's only motivation to live. It is precisely because of this belief that he supported him to walk out of the terrifying box. Do you have a cell phone? Jack asked as he walked in front of Toby. Yes, it's on my waist. Toby answered. Hearing Toby's answer, Jack's eyes suddenly sparkled. His own cell phone had been broken in the process of being ruined by those little brothers, so when he heard Toby say that he had a cell phone, he immediately became excited. So, Jack began to touch Toby's body without saying a word. No, be gentle, that's not a cell phone. Your cell phone is in the shape of a long stick. Toby said, struggling. As he spoke, the poison that had spread to half of his body seemed to accelerate its erosion. Now, Toby felt that his body was becoming more and more numb. Fortunately, the super spider serum in his body and the arachne serum of Frush were of the same origin, and he had a certain resistance to the spider's venom, otherwise he would have died long ago. Jess, is that you? Quick, run, call your mother, run as far as you can, quick. As if he had used up his last strength, Jack screamed into the microphone of his mobile phone. After speaking, Jack lay directly on the ground, looking like he was dying. Brother, are you still alive? Hold on, a little longer, and help me make a phone call. Toby whispered. However, Jack's wish was fulfilled at this time, and he began to be in a trance due to excessive blood loss. Well, we are both wanderers in the world, so I guess the boy next to me also has unfulfilled wishes. Jack pushed Toby's phone to Toby's head with all his strength, and he completely lost consciousness. Damn it, you are a complete good person. Toby roared in his heart. However, at this moment, Toby seemed to think of something. Zio, I'm here. The smart voice of the phone answered. Great, there's help. Toby thought happily in his heart. Call Marfa Maximov. Excuse me, do you want to order takeout? Zio AI has searched for all the takeout phone numbers nearby for you. I mean, call Marfa Maximov. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean. I have googled all the relevant information about Marfa for you. Please search for it yourself. FUK. Toby was angry in his heart. Is this a man-made retardation? Sister AI, please help me call Marfa Maximov. After saying this, Toby found that his vocal cords had begun to go numb. Abba, it was over, and Toby was desperate. But at this moment, I am calling Marfa Maximov for you, please wait. It understood. Woo. Toby was so moved that he almost cried. It really deserves to be Zio AI classmate, awesome. After a moment. Moshi, why did Toby call me? It's late at night, don't I want to sleep? Marfa's lazy voice came from the other end of the phone. Abba, Marfa, come and save me, it's no use calling my dad, say what you want to say. Abba, Marfa, help me, fuck. Marfa decisively hung up the phone. Toby, oh acute oh grave, this is completely over. Time passed by, and Toby gradually turned green under the erosion of Flush's venom. Well, I'm satisfied that the moonlight can send me off. Thinking this in his heart, Toby seemed to see Mary Jane, who was smiling at him. Gradually, Toby lost consciousness. Ding ding ding. Ding ding ding. The first ray of sunlight in the morning shone into the window, and Marfa dragged her tired body up from the bed. She kicked Toby, who was still lying on the ground. Damn Toby, wake up quickly, you've been tossing me all night. Last night, after receiving Toby's call, Marfa thought more and more that something was wrong. Relying on the positioning device given to Marfa by Natasha, Marfa quickly found Toby, who was in a coma. Until now, whenever Marfa thinks of the bloody and horrible scene in the KTV yesterday, like purgatory, Marfa can't help but shudder. Fortunately, Marfa appeared in time and immediately cast a level 3 healing spell on Toby. It must be said that the level 3 skill is amazing. For someone like Toby, who is not only poisoned but also lost too much blood and even had all his limbs broken, it would have been impossible for Marfa to heal him in a short time. However, it is different now. Marfa, who has 10 points of Taoist strength, only used 3 healing spells to stabilize Toby's injuries. Even after giving Toby 2 more bottles of sun water, this guy actually snorted and kept calling out the name Mary Jane breathlessly. Ah! Get up! Feeling the pain from his body, Toby immediately sat up from the ground. He just looked at his naked body and scanned the surroundings. Toby immediately dodged and hid in the corner. He hugged his chest and back garden and looked at Marfa with a vigilant face. Marfa, what did you do to me? As soon as he said that, a telekinetic slap hit Toby's face. You still dare to say that? I told you to be careful, but I didn't expect you to be fooled. If I hadn't saved you, you would have gone to hell and waited for Mary Jane. When Toby heard that, the memory of last night immediately emerged like a tide. Toby immediately cast a grateful look at Marfa. Wait, that's not right, what about my clothes? As if thinking of something, Toby's vigilant expression immediately appeared again. Brother, please, if you don't look at your appearance, would I care about you? I destroyed your clothes for you, and they smelled of blood. If I bring you back like this, how can I explain to my family? Hurry, put them on. After that, Marfa threw the clothes she stole from Petro's room to Toby. At this time, in the underground research room of a manor in Manhattan. Mr. Obadiah, are you really determined to do this? You know, this is a very dangerous thing. Maybe you will lose control of yourself like me. Bruce Banner said. At this time, lying on the experimental table in front of Bruce Banner was Obadiah Stane, who had disappeared for a long time. He had completed half of his body mechanization, obviously using some unknown black technology. Chapter 61 Technology and Mutation. I don't know where your iron armor came from, nor do I know what you are going to do, but I can tell you clearly that your use of biological energy instead of mechanical energy is potentially dangerous to you. In other words, you can't bear the burden this body brings to you. Bruce Banner said. Do you think I don't know? Otherwise, why would I inject your serum? Obadiah glanced at Banner with disdain and said. Well, since this is your request, I will help you because you helped me reunite with Betty, but from now on, you and I will have nothing to do with each other. Banner said coldly. Hurry up and do it. I promise you that from now on, I will never disturb your and Betty's world of 2 people again, and I will also give you $50 million and a farm in Kansas, so that you can live a carefree and happy sex life from now on," Obadiah said impatiently. To be honest, Banner is both disgusted and afraid of the Hulk in his body. Not to mention sharing his serum with others. But after all, Obadiah had done him a great favor, so, under Obadiah's repeated requests, Bruce Banner could only reluctantly agree to perform the operation for him. Heart, spine, bone marrow. 12 gene injections containing Hulk serum were slowly pushed into Obadiah's body under Banner's operation. These are Banner's latest research results in recent days. In short, it is to weaken the effect of Hulk serum as much as possible and add some gene fragments of electric rays on the original basis. According to Banner's research theory, electric rays can convert bioenergy into electrical energy, and electrical energy can replace bioenergy to maintain Obadiah's body operation. As for the Hulk serum, it strengthens and supplements the gene fragments of electric rays. In this way, humans, machines, electric rays, and the Hulk, the four combined into one, can form a new life cycle. Just some time ago, Obadiah got the blueprints of the armor that Tony Stark wore when he escaped from the Afghan camp from the 10 Commandments, and even found some armor wreckage. This discovery seemed to open the door to a new world for Obadiah. As long as there is this kind of exoskeleton armored weapon, Stark Industries will undoubtedly reach the peak under the leadership of him, Obadiah Stane, and become the strongest, largest and best weapon supplier in the world. However, when Obadiah really assembled these mecha wreckages, he found that all this was just a dream. With the mediocre scientific researchers under his command, it was impossible to replicate the small arc reactor in Tony Stark's chest. Therefore, Obadiah had to think of Tony Stark and tried to steal a small arc reactor from Tony. However, just as he was about to go to Tony's beach house, an accident made him change his mind. Previously, at Betty's request, Obadiah took Betty to Brazil to find Bruce Banner. Unexpectedly, he ran into General Ross, who came to arrest people. With Obadiah's intervention, Banner successfully escaped from General Ross's soldiers, but Betty was accidentally injured because of this incident, and one of her right legs was blown off. However, Banner is a top genius with 7 doctoral degrees after all. In just a few days, Banner used the technology of converting bioenergy to electrical energy and some weapon information provided by Obadiah to create a mechanical leg. This leg not only does not need to be charged separately, but also has no effect on Betty's daily life. This scene can't help but bring great inspiration to Obadiah. Soon, at Obadiah's request, Bruce Banner used Tony Stark's Marfa as a prototype, and with the cooperation of Obadiah's scientific researchers, Obadiah was transformed into a semi-mechanical life form. However, it would have been better if it hadn't been changed. After the experiment was successful, everyone found that Obadiah's physical functions could not satisfy Marfa's demand for bioenergy in his body. As the saying goes, the rich rely on technology, the poor rely on mutation. Obadiah firmly believes that he has both technology and mutation, so there is no reason why he cannot reach the top of the world. In order to save his life and gain powerful strength, Obadiah had to take risks and choose to open up a new path. And now, he has found it. In Obadiah's view, this is a path with far more potential than exoskeleton armor cyborg biochemical soldiers. And he, Obadiah Stane, will become a pioneer on this road and create a bright future for the military industry of the whole world. As for Tony Stark, in Obadiah's view, he is just a rooster that lays golden eggs. All along, the reason why Stark Industries has been able to reach its current scale is Tony's unparalleled scientific research talent. However, for Obadiah now, Tony is no longer indispensable. Finally, with the injection of Hulk serum, Obadiah's body, which was so thin that it was almost sucked dry by the biological armor, began to swell gradually. Mr. Obadiah, how do you feel now? An assistant asked hurriedly. Feeling? Ha ha ha. It's better than ever. Meanwhile, in California, at a beach house on Malibu Street, Tony Stark was debugging the Mark II armor that had just completed a test flight. Pepper, I hope you can help me go to my office, hack into the computer host, and copy a cargo manifest. As he said that, Tony took out a USB flash drive from his pocket and handed it to Pepper. During the first test flight of the Mark II not long ago, Tony subconsciously came to Dr. Ethan's hometown. The cellmate who died to cover Tony has always been a concern for Tony. However, when he arrived at the place, Tony found that there were still a large number of members of the 10 Commandments, holding their own weapons to slaughter the villagers. An indescribable sense of guilt immediately filled Tony's brain. Logically, Stark Industries has stopped the production of weapons, but where did the other party's massive arms come from? Tony must figure this out, otherwise he will have trouble sleeping and eating. Especially with Obadiah's strange behavior recently. He mobilized a group of elite weapons developers, purchased a large number of biological research equipment, and mobilized a large amount of funds. One by one, even if Tony wanted to protect Obadiah, the inexplicable sense of uneasiness still made Tony choose this last resort. Pepper hesitated and asked weakly, "If I get the list back, what are you going to do?" Of course, the same old routine. "If there's indeed a secret deal, I will stop it and destroy the weapons myself." Hearing Tony's words, Pepper took a step back slightly. "In that case, I resign." After saying that, he turned and left. "I have to do this. You've been with me all these years. You've been with me when I made my fortune selling weapons that broke people's families and made them homeless. Now, I just want to protect those who suffer because of me, but you're leaving me." However, Pepper was not moved. In Pepper's view, Tony's life safety was above all else. She would never push Tony to the edge of danger with her own hands. Fortunately, Tony's eloquence was quite good. While thinking back to Ethan's rescue at the cost of his own life, he persuaded Pepper. "If I didn't have this belief, I would have died long ago. Pepper, I'm not crazy, but I understand what I should do, and I know from the bottom of my heart that I'm doing the right thing." Looking at Tony's sincere eyes, feeling his transformation from an unruly prodigal to hero with a mission, Pepper picked up the USB flash drive that she had just thrown on the table when she rejected Tony, and turned away. "You know what? You are everything to me." Unlike Tony's helplessness and pain, at this moment, Queen's Flash was extremely excited. Just now, when Flash drank the blood of the two girls again, the visor on Flash's face that was broken by Toby was miraculously restored. Ha ha ha, high-speed regeneration ability. Arachne, you really keep surprising me. So, who's next? His eyes swept across the portraits hanging on the wall. Forget it, let's solve it all at once. As soon as the voice fell, he saw a spider leg gently raised. Swoosh! The shadow of the leg passed by, and the portraits of Natasha and Marfa were directly cut in half and fell to the ground. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Green Gas. Marfa, I think something is wrong with my body. After class, Toby quietly pulled Marfa to the corner and said, "Something is wrong? You mean?" Marfa seemed to have thought of something and said with wide eyes, "Yes, it was after being bitten by Frush that day. Look." After that, Toby stretched out his arms and put his exposed wrists in front of Marfa. Previously, there were 2 scars on Toby's wrists that were as big as hard plates, as if they were burned. That was where he shot spider silk and webs. But now, next to these 2 scars, a new scar has appeared. Although the 2 new scars are much smaller than the original ones used for spinning silk, they look a bit creepy, as if they were corroded by sulfuric acid. The most important thing is that these 2 new scars are still dark green. I think it shouldn't be a big problem. After all, my healing technique completely repaired your body. After all, if you want to live a decent life, you have to have some green on you. By the way, have you tried the effect of these 2 scars on you? Marfa asked. But when he heard it, Toby showed a slightly strange expression. What does your constipated expression mean? I'm asking you a question. Marfa asked quickly. Ahem, take a look. As he said that, Toby pulled Marfa to the bathroom. Hey, wait, don't hold hands, don't. It's not a good influence. If someone sees it, I'll be ruined. Marfa wanted to shake off Toby's hand, but this guy's strength was far greater than Marfa's. For a moment, Marfa felt like her hand was clamped by a vice and couldn't move at all. The men's restroom on the 2nd floor of Zhongcheng High School. Toby pulled Marfa into a single room and locked the door. Look? No, I don't want to look. Marfa quickly covered her eyes. What the hell are you thinking? I'll show you my new trick. As he spoke, Toby stretched out his right hand, and a drop of dark green poison spurted out from his wrist. In just a blink of an eye, a hole was corroded in the white porcelain squat toilet, and even wisps of green smoke floated from the squat toilet. At this moment, a boy walked into the toilet. "Oh my God! Who the hell farted green?" the boy exclaimed, and walked towards the single room where Toby and Marfa were with a curious look on his face. He quietly waited for this outstanding talent to come out of the single room, wanting to see his face. "Marfa. Toby. Asshole, look at what you have done, the school toilet is broken." Marfa scolded. "I didn't mean to do it, I accidentally did it. The main reason is that I can't control this trick." Toby replied pitifully. "Keep your voice down, you want the whole school to know you're in school." Bang! The door was kicked open by the student, who was full of curiosity. Originally, he just wanted to see what kind of talent was inside, who could fart green. But unexpectedly, there was an unexpected gain. "Listen. Can't control it. Broke it. Be careful. The key is still two men." The desire for gossip was growing, and driven by curiosity, the boy couldn't bear it anymore, and immediately kicked open the door of the single room. However, before he could see clearly, an invisible telekinesis hit him directly on the back of the neck. Pop! The boy fell to the ground directly, and he didn't see the appearance of the two people inside until he fainted. Not long after, a news was spread on the campus network of Hongchang High School. Is it the distortion of human nature or the decline of morality? A strange man in Midtown High School shot through the toilet trough and finally fainted in the toilet due to exhaustion. Shocking. You can't imagine the potential of human beings. A strange genius appeared in the men's toilet. The various headlines made the whole school buzz. Without saying anything else, Toby and Marfa came straight to Natasha's office on the 5th floor after walking out of the men's toilet. Natasha just returned to Midtown High School today. As a member of the SHIELD, the two of them need to have a good talk with Natasha about what happened recently. Knock knock knock. Come in. Natasha's voice came from the office. What a coincidence, I was just about to find you. Regarding the bloody case in the garden club, I think you need to give me an explanation. After that, Natasha threw a thick stack of photos in front of Toby. SHIELD has suppressed this matter for you, but you still have to talk about the reasons. You know, the US Federal Police Department has put a lot of pressure on us for this matter. The director's hair has been, cough cough cough, the director has been haggard recently. Toby has never seen Nick Fury, so he naturally doesn't understand Natasha's joke, but Marfa, as a time traveler, knows it very well. Where did Nick Fury get his hair? You should know that the 3 Marvel eggs are famous in Marfa's original world. Boiled eggs, Ancient One, black braised eggs, Nick Fury, purple potato eggs, Thanos. Just as the 3 were talking, Flush, who got the news that Natasha had returned to school, rushed directly to the school. What? Too eye-catching? Flush said, 5 words floating in the sky, that's not a big deal. Along the way, Flush has cleared out 5 or 6 police teams in a row. Anyone who dared to block him, whether it was a house or a police team, Flush chose to rush directly. Especially after learning that blood can heal his body quickly in a short period of time, Flash will no longer be as cautious as before. As long as he's not dead, there will be no injuries that cannot be cured by sucking blood. If there's, it means that he has not sucked enough blood. In short, in Flash's view, with this ability, he is invincible. At worst, he can wait until everything is resolved and let Gamora integrate the assets and move them to Russia. It is said that the women of the fighting nation are very powerful. As long as he thinks of a group of women kneeling on the ground and licking his spider legs together, Flash is excited. And looking around the world, except for China, only Russia dares to challenge the United States. At that time, with Flash's strength and the large amount of funds from Gamora, I think Russia will welcome him very much. With the help of Spider Silk, Flash imitated Spider-Man and quickly shuttled between the tall buildings. Not long after, he appeared at the gate of his Hongchang High School. The killing feast begins. Flash pondered, and immediately waved his 2 spider legs in a pair of giant hands and rushed towards the teaching building. Oh my god. Monster. Fuck. So ugly. Hey. Dude, who are you cosplaying as? Did you just come out of a comic exhibition? There is a reason why there are so few people abroad. Many people saw the terrifying appearance of Flash and began to flee. But there are still a few who are obsessed with death. They actually walked directly to Flash and started to play with his body. Flash. I don't have any face. Puff. Without saying a word, Spider Legs made a skewer of the person who just touched his thigh. Kill. Kill. FUK. Run. Someone shouted. In an instant, Those little experts in death also began to run away. However, Flash, who has been angered again, will not let them go easily. Flash also suffered a lot of minor injuries when fighting with the police before. The blood of these people can be used to treat them first. Puff. Puff. For a moment, the entire campus square of Central City High School was filled with people flying around and corpses were everywhere. Well, this one looks good. It seems that we still have to find students for blood food. Those in KTV clubs are too smelly. After sucking the headless girl hanging on the spider's legs dry, Flash licked his lips and said with some satisfaction. Soon, a familiar figure fell into his sight. Mary Jane? Tisk 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 tisk. To be fair, Flash still likes this woman. She is good at sex and not clingy. Brother, don't move. Mary is fully automatic. She is cold and arrogant during the day, but she is a real wildcat at night. Alice, no wonder Toby is so devoted to you. In this case, for the sake of the past, I will give you a ride, so that Toby can see the sincerity of my friend. Chapter 63 Friends and Women. Mary Jane is a very interesting character in the first Spider-Man movie. Her mother died early, her father was an alcoholic, and she was with a school bully Flash Thompson in high school, and did a lot of shameful things. Later, she maintained an ambiguous relationship with Peter Parker and Harry Osborn at the same time. Although she became Peter Parker's girlfriend later, she was ambitious but weak, had a dream of becoming a star, but did not have the talent, and even broke up because she was jealous of Spider-Man's success. Let's break up, and she immediately threw herself into Harry Osborn's arms. Marfa was very disdainful of this woman in her previous life. Whether it was her appearance, talent, or personality, she was not worthy of Peter Parker at all. In contrast, Gwen in the second Spider-Man movie was not only gentle and considerate, but also a complete academic bully. At a young age, she was qualified to intern at the top biological research center. She even gave her life for love in the end. Compared with the two, the vision of the first generation is not even a little bit worse. But this is not the first Spider-Man movie after all. Although Mary Jane has given her first time to Flash, she is not as fickle and play both sides as in the original plot. After all, this is Toby's own business. Marfa doesn't mind Toby chasing his goddess, but influenced by the original plot, she doesn't have a good impression of this woman. Back to the point, after seeing Mary Jane running away, Flash immediately flashed in front of Mary Jane and blocked her way. Oh, honey, why do you run away when you see me? Flash's cold words reached Mary Jane's ears, and she immediately screamed. Help. Life? Ah. The sound was so loud that even Flash felt a pain in his eardrums. Shut up, you bitch. The spider leg slid gently on Mary Jane's cheek, and the cold cuticle constantly stimulated Mary Jane's nerves. Especially at this moment, there were still a lot of blood stains on the spider leg, which made Mary Jane even more frightened. Let me go. Please. I'll do anything for you. Mary Jane begged. Ha ha ha. You really don't recognize me? That's not how you called me when we were at the Beekman Hotel. Flash licked his lips and said. The Beekman Hotel. Instantly, memories flooded from Mary Jane's mind like a tide. Wasn't that the place where she lost her virginity? Could it be? You are, Flash. Mary Jane said with shining eyes, as if she saw the hope of survival. Dear, how did you become like this? Let me go, you're hurting me. After learning that the monster in front of her was her boyfriend, Mary Jane's hanging heart immediately relaxed a lot. No. Flash waved another spider leg and cut off another head. Didn't you say you wanted to be with me forever? Didn't you say you wanted to merge with me? Come on, let me eat you, and we'll be together forever. In my body, you'll always be with me. Flash put his head close to Mary Jane's ear and said with a little excitement. But when Mary Jane heard this, it was extremely creepy. What a joke, if she let this monster eat her, she would turn into shit. How could Mary Jane agree to such a request? No. Flash, listen to me, don't eat me, I'll always be with you, forever. Mary Jane begged for mercy. Don't eat you? Ha ha ha. You can eat my child, why can't I eat you? Don't worry, there's another idiot waiting for you in hell, you can continue to live a shameless life with him. Flash immediately opened his mouth and bit Mary Jane's neck. Let her go, you bastard. At the critical moment, a mass of white mucus flew over and blocked his mouth again in a way that was very familiar to Flash. Woo woo woo. Woo woo woo. Pa. Fresh turned around and looked in the direction where the mucus was flying, only to see a man in a black mask uniform with white stripes standing not far from him, looking at him. Standing next to him were Natasha Romanoff and a man wearing a pure white mask. How is it possible? Aren't you dead? How is it possible? When Fresh just stepped into the school gate, he felt a restlessness from the resonance of blood. Since Toby's death had been confirmed, Fresh only thought it was an excited reaction from drinking too much blood, and didn't take it seriously at all. It was not until now that Fresh saw the appearance of Skynet again that he remembered this. Then the masked man next to him was undoubtedly Marfa Maximov. He was secretly certain in his heart. Very good, then I'll just kill you both. After saying that, Flash immediately placed his spider leg on Mary Jane's neck, pretending to stab her. At the same time, he raised another spider leg, nodded at Toby, and then pointed at Marfa and said, "If Toby kills him, I'll let Mary Jane go. Otherwise, I don't mind pushing my spider leg forward another 10 centimeters." Huh? Toby was stunned. What's going on? This script is wrong. Shouldn't he just rush up and fight 1-on-3, and then be beaten down by us? Having fought with Flash before, Toby has some understanding of Flash's strength. In a one-on-one situation, he might be able to fight Flash 40-60, but if Marfa, who has many tricks, and Natasha, the top agent, are added, Toby is confident that the three of them can easily take down Flash together. But he never expected that Flash would actually use Mary Jane as a hostage to threaten him. What should he do? On one side is an important friend, and on the other side is the goddess he loves. Toby was hesitating, but Mary Jane, who was still being held by Flash's spider legs, was anxious. He had just learned from Flash that Toby was Skynet. Toby. Isn't it the only silly boy who is so familiar with Flash who is always in a daze when he saw her? Toby, save me, save me. I don't want to die. I don't want to be eaten. Mary Jane immediately called out Toby by name and shouted for help. How to choose? Marfa was her best friend. Not only did she not despise her or bully her, she even helped her awaken her superpowers. Mary Jane was the object of her admiration since elementary school. Toby even looked through the window countless times at the reflection of Mary Jane on the bed next door and played some interesting games with her right hand. Unlike Toby's hesitation, Marfa was also very curious at this time. What choice would Toby make between her and Mary Jane? Toby, save me, quick. Don't you like me? I know you often peek at me from the window. I am willing to be your girlfriend. Seeing that Toby was indifferent to her call for help, Mary Jane was also very anxious. As a resident of Queens, she was naturally familiar with the name of Skynet. Collecting protection fees. Who doesn't know? For such a superhero, Mary Jane never thought that he would be the silly boy next door. At this time, the situation was urgent, and Mary Jane could not care about anything else. She thought that as long as Skynet was willing to take action, she would definitely be saved. So she raised the stakes and shouted, "Ah! Be my girlfriend." Hearing the goddess say that she wanted to be his girlfriend, Toby was so happy. But on second thought, doesn't this mean that they are going to attack Marfa? Flash, let Mary Jane go, I beg you, even if you want to kill me, just let them go. Bang! Toby knelt down. He really couldn't make a choice between his friend and the woman. Chapter 64, Toby vs. Marfa. Seeing Toby's dilemma, Flash was very excited. His crazy and enjoyable expression was as if he had just done 499 meals 3 times in a row. At this time, his spider leg also moved forward 0.5 centimeters. Squeak. The sharp keratin on the tip of the spider leg pierced into Mary Jane's neck like a hot knife cutting butter. Ah! The pain swept through every nerve of Mary Jane. Save me, Toby, save me. Do it quickly, do it, I beg you, don't worry, I will wait for you to get out of prison, and then we will get married immediately. Please, save me. I don't want to die yet. For a while, snot, tears, all kinds of liquids flowed out of Mary Jane's body. Even her plain light makeup was smudged by tears. Toby, think it over. This woman is not worthy of you. Marfa said to Toby with a loud voice, and secretly controlled telekinesis to write words on Toby's back. Toby understood immediately. He immediately stood up, glaring at Marfa. I'm sorry, it's not right to do this, but she is Mary Jane after all. After saying that, Toby immediately raised his fist and hit Marfa's chest. Marfa was not to be outdone, and immediately blocked Toby's attack with a punch. Obviously, Toby was letting Marfa go. After all, he had a strength of nearly 30 tons, while Marfa was less than 5 tons. But these were not clear to Flash. Friends who used to go in and out together, shoulder to shoulder, now fight each other for a woman. It seems that the so-called friends are nothing more than this. Flash thought secretly in his heart. At this time, Natasha, who was standing on the other side, slowly loosened her hand that was tightly holding the gun behind her. At first, Natasha really thought that Toby was going to fight Marfa for the woman in front of her. But Natasha soon reacted. After all, as the fighting coach of the two, she knew very well that Toby could completely crush Marfa in terms of strength and agility. But now, although the two of them were deadly in every move, they were able to fight evenly, and even retreated 5 steps after their fists and palms collided. This is very unscientific. If Marfa had not hidden her strength before, then it means that Toby is letting her go now. As the battlefield of the two people got closer and closer to Flash, Natasha gradually guessed their plans. Haha, they are worthy of being my students. But, they are too risky. What if Flash also sees the clues? Natasha is a top agent with outstanding talent. With her understanding of Toby and Marfa, she can indeed use her experience to figure out people's hearts. But she overestimated Flash. First, Flash did not know the real situation of Marfa and had no way to analyze these. Second, in order to fight realistically, brilliantly, and with special effects, the two did not move directly towards Flash. Instead, they slowly approached by taking 5 steps forward and 4 steps back. The moves and styles made the ground splatter with stone chips and dust. This scene is definitely better than the acting skills of many young actors and actresses who wave their hands and mutter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in front of the green screen. Are you really going to fight with me for a woman? Marfa roared while fighting. Forgive me, I have no choice. As soon as the voice fell, Toby grabbed Marfa and threw her over his shoulder. Seeing that Marfa was about to fall heavily to the ground, Marfa immediately divided her telekinesis into 2 parts, one of which hit the ground with all her strength, and the other protected her body to reduce the impact pressure caused by the ground on her body. Bang! The sound of the landing resounded throughout the campus square like thunder. Good, good, good. Frush, who was standing aside, saw that the two had already fought with anger, and couldn't help but applaud. It was really cool. What could be more cool than watching 2 of your enemies fighting in front of you? Toby, come on, Toby, you must win. Yes, that's it. Quickly kick him. Mary Jane, who was caught by Flash's spider legs, saw Toby gain the upper hand and immediately shouted. It was about her life and death, so she couldn't help but pay attention. Such a passionate battle made Mary Jane unconsciously feel a kind of excitement. Cough, cough, cough. The smoke and dust dissipated, and Marfa stood up from the big pit on the ground with a few drops of golden wound medicine slipping from the corners of her mouth, as if she had been seriously injured and was about to fall. Go to hell. Toby shouted. Immediately, he turned around and kicked Marfa's chest hard. Of course, this posture looks bluffing, but in fact, it is probably impossible to kick even the wooden board used for Taekwondo. However, Marfa flew backwards like a cannonball under this kick, and flew directly to the direction of Flash. Toby! Marfa shouted. But Toby suddenly raised his hand, and a spider web shot out from his wrist, and it stuck directly to Mary Jane. Asshole, how dare you! Flash finally realized that something was wrong, and immediately raised his spider leg, ready to pierce Mary Jane's neck directly. At the critical moment, Marfa, who had already arrived in front of Flash, immediately kicked Flash in the face. At the same time, an invisible telekinesis immediately grabbed Flash's spider leg that was stabbing Mary Jane. It happened in a flash. Although the force of Marfa's flying kick was not very strong for Flash, it was still very painful to be kicked with a force of nearly 5 tons, especially when it was kicked in the head. In a trance, Flash's body slightly retreated half a step, and the force on the spider leg also decreased a little. Now, Toby, who was not far away, saw that the time had come, and immediately pulled Mary Jane, who was connected to the spider web, out of Frush's legs. The operation was successful. At this time, Frush had only one thought. He was fooled. FUK, you bastards, you have no martial ethics. As soon as the voice fell, Frush waved the sharp spider legs and stabbed at Marfa. However, the next second, Marfa completely violated the law of gravity and floated directly into the sky. This move undoubtedly refreshed Frush's cognition. His ability came from the super spider named Arachne, that's right. It was because of this that he gained the ability to spin silk and these 8 indestructible spider legs. But why can Marfa fly? Could it be that he was bitten by a mosquito? Or was he stung by a bee? With Frush's imagination, he really couldn't think of what bit him so that he could fly without wings. Do you think I can't do anything to you just because you fly? Looking at Marfa floating in the air and looking down at him, Frush couldn't help but roar in anger. Immediately, a spider web flew directly towards Marfa. It was obviously to pull it down and then treat it well. Tisk. That's it. Marfa said disdainfully. Since telekinesis was enough to support Marfa to fly, Marfa has been invincible in ordinary battles. What Natasha, what Captain America, if you have the ability, you can also fly one and see. As for large caliber long-range weapons, even if Marfa cannot completely ignore them with telekinetic barriers now, it is not a big problem to slightly deflect their direction. Only those who can fly, such as Iron Man and Thor, or those who jump and fly like Hulk, will make Marfa afraid. It can be said that Marfa has tossed himself to the point that he doesn't look like a Taoist priest. But who can be blamed for this? Who made the Taoist priests have no decent range damage skills except poison before level 18? Seeing that the spider web of Frush was getting closer and closer to him, Marfa took out a half-moon from the storage backpack without hurrying. In an instant, the bright silver blade of the half-moon was particularly dazzling under the sunlight. Shoo! The half-moon slashed diagonally, and a huge hole was directly cut in the spider web. Then it was my showtime. Poison. Red poison. Green poison. Chapter 65, Death of Mary Jane. It has to be said that poisoning is poisoning. It is incomparable to the knockoff version of the early access version when Marfa fought Agatha. Especially the current level 2 poisoning is even more effective. As Marfa's skills were performed, Frush immediately turned into Little Red Man, and then turned into Little Green Man again. That green. It almost blinded Toby's Krypton Gold Dog eyes. The next second, the corrosion effect of the green poison began to take effect. Yamidi. For a moment, Frush's screams shook the surrounding green trees. Asshole, what did you do to me? Enduring the burning pain all over his body, Frush looked up at the sky, stared at Marfa viciously and roared. Nothing, I just think you're dark and ugly, so I'm going to give you some color. As soon as Marfa finished speaking, he condensed his telekinesis into a fist and hit Frush's abdomen fiercely. Ugh! This blow directly threw Frush's huge body several meters away. Minced meat, internal organs, bones, blood, and a small amount of feces. For a moment, more than half of the food that Frush had just swallowed was knocked out by Marfa's simple punch. And Frush also covered his abdomen with a look of pain. How is it possible? What kind of attack was that just now? I'm afraid the power is almost the same as mine. Frush was shocked in his heart. The pain from his abdomen and the burning sensation from his skin almost drove him crazy. In fact, the reason why Frush felt that Marfa's punch was so powerful just now was just his illusion. Now, because Marfa only has 10 points of Taoism attributes, the intensity of the attack caused by telekinesis is not even as destructive as his direct melee. However, the red poison that Marfa had used earlier had greatly reduced Frush's defense, making the horny scales on his body as soft as leather. Without the defense of horny and scales, and being in great pain from the green poison, Frush subconsciously saw Marfa's attack as his own. At this moment, Toby also rushed to Frush, and saw him jump high, about to punch Frush in the face. But he was restrained by an invisible force and thrown far away. What to do? Toby looked at Frush with a puzzled look. He killed so many classmates, can't I even teach him a lesson? Toby said angrily. No, if you want to beat him, you can do it, but if you are corroded by the poison on his body, don't cry out in pain. Marfa flew to Toby's side, held down Toby who was about to attack again and said, this. Seeing Frush holding his arms tightly around his abdomen with a ferocious look on his face, Toby couldn't help but swallow his saliva secretly. Forget it. If I go forward, maybe I will be the one who gets hurt. I didn't expect Marfa's poison to be so. Oh, wait. Poison? As if thinking of something, Toby's eyes lit up immediately. Then he saw his hands spraying spider silk at Frush. But it was different from the past. This time, while Toby was spraying spider silk, The new scars on his hands were also spraying emerald green venom. The spider silk was stuck with venom and instantly turned green. One by one, under the sunlight, it was as beautiful as emerald. Swish. Swish. In a short while, Flash was entangled into a dumpling by Toby's circles of emerald green spider silk. Haha. You are awesome. Marfa said to Toby with a thumbs up. If Flash felt like he was burned by fire and his whole body was in pain before, then now Flash felt like he was soaked in concentrated sulfuric acid. The bone-eroding pain was simply indescribable. Okay, it's over. Marfa thought secretly. It was a wise move to choose Toby as a partner. With his spider silk to restrict the enemy, and his double poison to grind blood, no matter who he is, as long as he is not immune to the poison and can't stretch the spider silk, he will die sooner or later. However, at this moment, ho-ha-ho-ha, ho-ha-ho-ha, Flash's crazy laughter came from the Zongzi. Then, sizzle. Toby's spider web was torn apart by Flash. Then, Flash, dressed in black, got out of the Zongzi. It seems that your ability is still limited. Then die for me. As he said, Flash rushed towards Marfa's position. Damn, I forgot that the poison has a duration, and it will be automatically lifted after the time is up. Marfa thought to herself that it was not good, and immediately controlled her body to fly up again. And Toby immediately shot a spider silk towards the flagpole not far away, and pulled himself over directly. Puff. The spider leg pierced into the flesh, but Flash had already stabbed his sharp spider leg into the neck of Mary Jane, who had just hidden behind Toby. A trickle of blood gushed out from Mary Jane's aorta, like a faucet. Okay, you are really a woman with a lot of water. After saying that, Flash swallowed it and started to suck Mary Jane's blood directly. Beast, you actually. Toby's eyes were red, and he looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He never expected that Mary Jane, who he and Marfa had worked so hard to rescue, would die in this way. Looking at the motionless body of his goddess and the crazy sucking of Flash, Toby went crazy. Without caring about anything, he immediately jumped and rushed towards Flash. Bang! Mary Jane's body was thrown out by Flash fiercely, just knocking down Toby, who was jumping in the air. Looking at Mary Jane again at this time, because of the blood sucked out, she looked like a mummy, with a horrible face. Oh. No, P.S. Comments are allowed here. Flash, who was on the side, was full and satisfied at this time. Mary Jane's blood enabled his body to activate the high-speed recovery function. The keratin scales that were previously corroded by the red poison, green poison and Toby's poisonous silk were repaired at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the injury was much better. Not enough. Feeling the changes in his body, Flash's eyes immediately swept around. However, how long has it been, and the students around him have long disappeared, so where can he get new food to replenish him? Soon, Flash's eyes fell on Natasha. After all, she was the only person present besides Marfa, Toby and Flash. More importantly, Natasha was a woman. You know, after Flash's continuous testing, women, especially virgin women, are particularly nutritious. Their blood is not only delicious, but also very effective in repairing injuries. What do you want to do? Natasha pretended to be afraid and took 2 steps back, saying with a trembling voice. Natasha Romanoff, Strategic Homeland Defense, what's your name? Forget it. I didn't expect you to be an agent. Don't you look down on me? How about, do you want to feel my masculinity? Don't worry, as long as I bite you, you will completely fall in love with this feeling. Flash said step by step. Don't even think about it. But before Natasha finished her words, she was pulled in front of Flash's spider silk. The next second, Natasha suddenly took out a small bottle from her pocket, aimed it at Flash's head and sprayed it. What is this? You bitch. With a loud roar of pain, Flash immediately stretched out his spider legs and wanted to stab the woman who hurt his eyes to death. However, Natasha suddenly pulled out 2 electrified steel wires from her wrists. She grabbed Flash's spider legs with one hand, and wrapped the steel wires around Flash like playing on a horizontal bar. After a few rotations, she wrapped the steel wires around Flash. Sizzle. Sizzle. Sparks flew everywhere. Natasha took out the small bottle again, aimed it at Flash and sprayed it wildly. Enjoy it. Remember, this thing is called olive chrysanthemum. Use olive chrysanthemum if there are spiders. Olive chrysanthemum has a good insecticide effect. Chapter 66 Blue Phantom. Looking at Natasha, who was so arrogant and advertising in front of him, how could Frush endure it? This was simply an insult to himself. Forget it, let's run away first. Frush thought. Originally, I thought Toby was dead. With my own strength, it shouldn't be a big problem to fight Marfa and Natasha at the same time. But who would have thought that neither Marfa nor Natasha would be the kind of existence that would be manipulated by me? What's more, it's still 1 against 3 now. The big spider can bend and stretch. Frush, who has been frustrated again and again, is much more sober at this moment. As long as he can run away, with his ability to regenerate at high speed, it won't take long for him to recover to his peak. Then he can find a chance to defeat these 3 people one by one. This is the way to win. He endured the burning pain from the olive chrysanthemum in his eyes and the paralysis caused by the steel wire wrapped around his body, which kept flashing arcs. But how could a mere steel wire withstand the tens of tons of force of Frush? With a sudden force, Frush broke all the steel wires easily. However, the next second, something happened that surprised Frush. Because his eyes were sprayed by Natasha, he could not open them at all. But this seemed to stimulate a part of Frush's gene fragments, and 8 blood holes appeared on his chest, and then 8 eyeballs grew out of his chest. Fuck. You are going to follow the path of that old man Danzo. Seeing this scene, Marfa, who was hanging beside Toby and comforting Toby, couldn't help but secretly complain in his heart. So the 8 eyeballs were pure black, and there were no special patterns, which made Marfa accept it a little. Seeing that Natasha was in crisis, Marfa was about to go to support. But at this moment, a blue phantom flashed in Marfa's eyes. What's going on? Everything happened too fast, even Marfa couldn't see who the phantom was. Soon, the blue phantom appeared beside Frush, and spun around him at a speed that was difficult to catch with the naked eye. After 8 circles, the phantom disappeared from the battlefield, but Frush's 8 newly grown eyes were all pierced with a black metal rod. Green blood slowly flowed out of the 8 eye sockets. Obviously, Frush was blind again. Frush roared in pain, and then began to wave his giant hands and 4 spider legs frantically. Swish! Swish! The sound of breaking through the air was endless. At this moment, Frush was like a fortress, protecting himself with his 6 limbs waving at high speed. However, before Marfa and others could do anything, the blue phantom came again. Then it quickly appeared beside Frush, and then left again. Marfa. Natasha. What the hell is this? But when Marfa and Natasha looked at Frush again, they saw that his body was covered with a thick layer of strong glue. Although the glue had not dried completely, its strong viscosity still made Frush's movements much slower than before. It seems that this blue phantom is helping himself or Natasha? Marfa thought secretly in his heart. Moving at a high speed, plus helping himself and Natasha, then the identity of this person is about to be revealed. Okay, Pietro, I didn't expect you to be smart for once. You didn't show your face rashly, but used this way to cover up your identity. In his heart, he secretly gave a thumbs up to his silly brother. Then the next thing to deal with is a monster that is blind and restricted in movement. Poisoning. Red poison. Green poison. The little green man appeared again. This time Marfa directly controlled the telekinesis, tightly grasped the half moon, and began to chop Frush frantically. 1 cut, 2 cuts, 3 cuts. The half moon is indeed a magical weapon from the legendary world. When it cuts Frush, it will not get stuck because of the super glue on his body, and it will break through his defense. Every cut will splash a touch of green blood. And Natasha did not just stand there and watch. She took out a pistol from her waist and started shooting at Frush. Bang, 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 bang. For such a close-range shooting, let alone Natasha, anyone who has touched a gun will not miss, let alone a top agent like Natasha. It is no exaggeration to say that if Natasha wants to shoot Frush's upper eyelid, she will never hurt his lower eyelid. The bullets flew out accurately. With a red poison of Marfa to reduce defense, these bullets naturally penetrated Frush's keratin scales easily. Heart, throat. Except for the head with particularly thick keratin, the rest of Frush's body was quickly shot into receive. At the same time, a Bentley stopped at the gate of Midtown High School. A middle-aged man got out of the car, took small steps, and ran towards Frush quickly. No. Don't. Frush! The middle-aged man shouted. There is no doubt that this person is Frush's father, Gamora. Seeing his son die in front of him, Gamora felt dizzy and fainted on the ground before he ran to Frush. Marfa, I am a level 7 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I request to retrieve Flush's body. Is that okay? Natasha said after putting away her gun. Of course, you have big breasts, I will listen to you. Marfa nodded. In Marfa's opinion, Flush's appearance was an accident from the beginning. God knows how he mutated into this. This is beyond the scope of the plot. If S.H.I.E.L.D. can use Flush's body to create a group of super soldiers, wouldn't Marfa be able to swipe the game card again? Therefore, Marfa fully supports Natasha's recovery of Flush's body. However, what Marfa doesn't know is that it was because of his appearance that Toby became Skynet, and it was Toby's inadvertent disclosure that created the current Flush. This can be said to be Marfa's indirect influence on the MCU plot, and the system shamelessly judged the indirect influence on the MCU plot as invalid, so at the beginning of Flush's mutation, Marfa was not rewarded. But now, Flush's death was directly participated in by Marfa and created by him, so the system naturally has to reward him. In other words, even if SHIELD replicates a bunch of Flush, Marfa will not get the system reward unless he directly participates in the research or kills it. Sure enough. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing the Spider-Man, Arachne, and the reward is 50,000 experience points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully deflecting the MCU plot, and the reward is 2,000 minutes of game time. The current remaining game time is 3,340 minutes. Please keep up the good work. Sure enough, with the death of Flush, the system's prompt sounded again in Marfa's ears. 50,000 experience points can be said to be quite generous. Marfa was originally level 17 with more than 20,000 experience points. With the injection of these 50,000 experience points, his level was directly raised to level 18. This means that at this time, Marfa can already learn one of the core skills of the Taoist priest, the Soul Fire Talisman. As the main output method of the Taoist priest in the legendary game, the significance of the Soul Fire Talisman is self-evident. Only with a skill can Marfa's Taoist priest profession be initially formed. Soul Fire Talisman, attach mental power to the amulet and attack the target remotely. Chapter 67 Target Level 19. The matter was settled. Because Flash made such a big noise, not only the students and teachers of Midtown High School, but even many passers-by saw Spider-Man. Hundreds of people died in the incident, so the matter could not be suppressed without anyone noticing. After a discussion between SHIELD and the US government, Toby had to take the blame. The next day, the New York Times. Regarding the Spider-Man incident at Midtown High School yesterday, a spokesperson for the U.S. Defense Security Agency gave an explanation this morning. Flash Thompson, the son of Gamora Thompson, the owner of the Thompson Hotel chain, mutated for unknown reasons, causing him to lose his mind and become a man-eating monster. According to investigations, the disappearance of people that occurred near Queens a few days ago was also caused by Flash Thompson. In the attack on Midtown High School, the hero Skynet from Queens stepped forward to fight Spider-Man and successfully killed him. For this, the president will personally present him with the American Good Citizen Award at the White House Plaza this Sunday. We will broadcast the award ceremony live at that time. It has to be said that Toby made a lot of money this time. The American Good Citizen Award seems to be useless, but in fact, it is the result of official compromise. In other words, the U.S. official has tacitly accepted that Toby collected protection fees. The reason for doing so is, on the one hand, because of the strong protection of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the support from the citizens of Queens and Brook. On the other hand, it is also because of the strength Toby showed in this incident. Since he can't be used for his own purposes, at least he should be put under a moral shackle, so that Toby won't get out of control in the future. Of course, if Toby can take the opportunity to weaken the power of the New York gangs and improve the sense of security of New York citizens, it will also be good for the president's re-election in the next term. At least he won't be driven out of office like someone did after only one term. As for the other three contributors in this incident, Marfa, Natasha and Pietro, they were also hidden by S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course, Alexander Pierce also contributed a lot. After all, Marfa is his man in secret now. As a trump card, it is not a good thing to be too ostentatious. And Pietro was deliberately concealed by the black-boiled egg Nick Fury. Pietro thought that as long as he ran fast, others couldn't see it clearly. But he forgot that there is a technology in this world called slow motion. After Nick Fury slowed down the surveillance video 64 times, he easily captured Pietro's figure. This also greatly deepened his attention to the Maximoff family. First it was Natalia, then Marfa, And now even Pietro has superpowers. Of the 5 members of the family, 3 are known to have superpowers, which is very concerning to Nick Fury. Here, Nick Fury is considering whether to communicate with District 13 to bring the Maximoff family into SHIELD to form a special team. On the other side, Kingpin can't hold back. The Kingpin's gang covers the entire United States, of course, including Queens, New York. But first, Jack David, the head of the Queens area, died, and then the authorities acquiesced that Skynet was collecting protection fees in that area. Kingpin may not care about the tiny Queens area, but he will never tolerate anyone taking his territory. But the public does not know the whole story of the Spider-Man incident, but Kingpin may not be unable to get the video footage of Midtown High School. Ace Sarandon, Queens and North Brooklyn will be handed over to you from now on. You will take over Jack David's position. In addition, I will give you an important task. In the meeting room of the Hell's Kitchen headquarters of the Kingpin gang, Kingpin said to a young man beside him. Immediately, Kingpin turned on the projector and played the information of Pietro and Natalia. Of course, there was also a video of Natalia showing off her power in Brooklyn Bridge Park and Pietro running at high speed in Midtown High School. Thank you for your cultivation, boss, but this. Looking at the unimaginable video in front of him, Ace Sarandon asked hesitantly. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to cause trouble for them. I want you to win them over to our side at all costs. Remember, don't use force. As long as you do this well, the entire New York State will belong to you. If we hold this family in our hands, it's just a Skynet, which can't cause any trouble. Kingpin took a puff of his cigar and said slowly. After another moment of silence, Kingpin spoke again. Also, investigate the man with the white mask who appeared in Midtown High School as much as possible. Whether he is from the Strategic National Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency or not, we should try to avoid conflict with him. Do you understand? Kingpin said coldly. Yes, boss, I will arrange it right away. After that, Ace Sarandon stood up, bowed deeply to Kingpin and left quietly. Kingpin's gang was making intensive preparations, and Marfa was not idle either. Calculating the time, it was close to the end of 2008. If it was according to the original plot, the drama of Iron Man fighting Ironmonger would have ended. However, until now, Marfa has not heard any news. And Tony Stark has never announced to the media that he is Iron Man. Marfa knew that this must be a hidden chess piece he had laid. Betty played a role. But can this battle be avoided? Obviously not. Obadiah's ambition and Tony, who now has a fear of war, have obviously parted ways in principle. Obadiah cannot tolerate Stark Industries stopping weapons production forever. From this point of view alone, the war between the two is a matter of time. According to Marfa's speculation, Obadiah is now likely to have joined forces with Bruce Banner. At that time, the Hulk and Iron Tyrant will fight Iron Man. The result is obvious, Tony can't be Obadiah's opponent. Marfa is currently level 18, which means that Marfa is already qualified to participate in the battle. If he can participate in this battle, whether he stands on Tony Stark's side or on Obadiah's side, Marfa will benefit a lot. With such considerations, Marfa naturally has to make preparations before the war. First of all, Marfa still has 3,340 minutes of game time. According to the calculation of 160 experience points for a zombie, it takes 100,000 experience points to upgrade from level 18 to level 19. Deducting the current experience points, there are about 580 zombies to kill. With Marfa's current speed of killing monsters, 3,340 minutes of game time is enough for him to reach level 19. When the level is raised to level 19, it means that Marfa can learn the skill of summoning skeletons, and at the same time, the mental force combat method can be raised to level 3. Because of the previous absorption of chaos energy, the level 3 skills can be further improved by putting materials in the yin-yang fish. Marfa has not figured out how to improve the healing technique, but Marfa has already had an idea for the mental force combat method. Therefore, as long as the level is raised to level 19, it is foreseeable that Marfa's combat power will inevitably have an earth-shaking improvement. After eating and drinking, Marfa lay on the bed and slowly closed his eyes. The goal is level 19. Go. Chapter 68 The Weird Grocery Store Owner. 500 zombies are not too many, but not too few either. In order to improve the efficiency of leveling, Marfa immediately found the bookstore owner in Big City and bought a skilled book of Soulfire Talisman. Soulfire Talisman Taoist Secret Book, required level 18, Price? 1,100 gold coins. For Marfa now, 1,100 gold coins are not too expensive, so he bought it directly. Although zombies will drop skill books, which can save these 1,100 gold coins, after all, point cards are more precious than gold coins. Therefore, Marfa will never be vague about where to spend money. Then he ran to the grocery store owner without stopping. Amulet quantity: 600. Price? 550 gold coins. Just when Marfa was about to leave and rush to the pharmacy to replenish medicine and start upgrading, the NPC grocery store owner actually called Marfa. "Young man, I have been observing you for a long time. I didn't expect you to reach level 18 so quickly." While talking and laughing, the grocery store owner inadvertently revealed a big gold tooth in his mouth. That image. And Marfa was also shocked by the grocery store owner's move. What's going on? Aren't the NPCs in the legendary world all tools without emotions? But this grocery store owner can actually. Not only can he actively communicate with himself, but he even has such a high level of artificial intelligence. Driven by curiosity, Marfa simply didn't rush to upgrade. According to the online game routines he saw in his previous life, there is a high probability that there is a hidden task in this situation. "Boss, is there anything I can help you with?" Marfa asked. "No." The grocery store owner answered without hesitation. "Marfa, Cyrillic letter deck, is he sick? What do you want me to do without a task?" So he was just happy for nothing? But when Marfa wanted to turn around and leave, "But, I have something here, maybe you will need it." After saying that, the grocery store owner put his hand into his trouser pocket and began to fumble. Fumbling. His extremely wretched appearance made Marfa shiver. "This is it." As he said that, the grocery store owner took out a small black square box from his trouser pocket. Soulfire Talisman Printer Special Item, cannot be equipped, unlimited number of uses, cooling time 30 minutes, amulet specific storage space. 10,000 grids, required level 1, price? 1 gold bar. Marfa, Cyrillic letter deck, shocked, this time it was completely shocked. Are you kidding? Even though Marfa already knew that this world was just a highly restored real world of the legendary game, what does it mean that you directly took out the Soulfire Talisman Printer to sell? Are you planning to change your career? Young man, actually this thing is a treasure passed down from my family. It's just that I went to buy it with the owner of a grocery store in Mengzihong province recently. That damn thing actually said that I was a poor guy and showed off his gold ring in front of me. So I planned to find the owner of the blacksmith shop to customize a big set of gold teeth, but now I'm short of gold coins. So I can only reluctantly give it up. As he said, the grocery store owner kissed the printer that he had just taken out of his trouser pocket a few times with a look of reluctance. Crazy. This world is crazy. What a joke. This is a game, not an urban novel. How could there be such a bloody plot that is slapped in the face by showing off wealth? But on second thought, this printer is really a good thing. As a Taoist priest, the demand for consumables such as amulets and poisons is really too great. It is no exaggeration to say that a Taoist priest without an amulet is garbage. After all, summoning skeletons, summoning mythical beasts, summoning moon spirits, sacred armor, invisibility, soul fire talismans. Most Taoist skills cannot be separated from soul fire talismans when casting spells. If it is just playing games, it is fine. At most, you can replenish it a few more times, but don't forget that the Marvel Universe is the main world of Marfa. If you are halfway through fighting with the enemy in the future, there is no amulet, how embarrassing it will be. Do you have to enter the game world to buy some, and then continue to fight the enemy? Of course, the amulet-specific storage space that comes with a printer is also very important for Marfa. Otherwise, when facing the group battle like Avengers 4, as a Taoist priest, you will be too passive. In the legendary game, a gold bar is equal to 1 million gold coins. And Marfa now has only 370,000 gold coins in his backpack. In other words, Marfa can't afford this amulet printer at all. Boss, how about we discuss something? Can you give me a discount? Look, 370,000 gold coins, how about that? I only have so much? Marfa said with a smirk. But this time, the grocery store owner didn't seem to care about Marfa's intentions anymore. He seemed to have become the emotionless tool man that Marfa knew, and stood there in a daze. Weird, this is too weird. This grocery store owner is definitely not normal. If it weren't for the fact that in the game, Except for the guard NPCs such as the archer guards, you can't attack other NPCs. Marfa really wanted to kill people and steal treasures. After writing this down, Marfa bought a few sets of amulets and hurried to the bitch mine. But this time, Marfa had an extra small goal, to make 1 million first. Let's not talk about Marfa's boring and tedious upgrade and gold making process. On the other side, Tony Stark finally debugged the Mark II, and on this basis, he further optimized some parameters and began to build the Mark II armor. But seeing that the armor was about to be completed, Jarvis' words made Tony's hand tremble suddenly, and he almost broke a mechanical component in his hand. "Sir, I just received an anonymous email. Ms. Pepper was arrested." According to the video footage sent by the sender, the person who did it was Obadiah Stane. Galila. In an instant, Tony clenched his fists, and bloodshot eyes burst out. "Sir, Ms. Pepper sent you a document at the last minute, and I have sorted it out for you." As Jarvis finished speaking, 8 virtual electronic projections appeared in front of Tony Stark. These materials showed the private transactions between the 10 rings and Obadiah, as well as the video footage of the 10 rings threatening Tony Stark and asking Obadiah to increase his commission. Asshole. Asshole. How dare he? I always regarded him as my uncle. Tony was completely angry. He could not care about money, but whether it was Pepper Potts or Obadiah Stane, they were all his relatives to Tony Stark. It could not be measured by money. But now, this person who had always been regarded as his uncle betrayed him. The most important thing is that Obadiah not only hurt Tony, but also kidnapped Pepper. You know, Pepper went to Tony's office to steal the shipping list at Tony's request. If Pepper gets into trouble, Tony feels that he will have a guilty conscience for the rest of his life. Jarvis, how long will it take for Mark III to be completely completed? Tony Stark asked. Sir, it is estimated that it will take about 3 hours before it can be put into use. Jarvis answered truthfully. Then how about cutting down those auxiliary programs and auxiliary functions as much as possible? Tony Stark asked again. The fastest time is 2 hours, but I don't recommend you to do that. This is California, about 3,800 kilometers away from New York State where Ms. Pepper is. If you cut down on auxiliary programs, it may cause a great burden on your body. Jarvis advised. You know, the auxiliary programs include muscle massage devices, urination devices, oxygen supply devices and many other seemingly dispensable but actually extremely important things. A 3,800-kilometer long-distance flight, if the muscle massage device is not installed, and the aircraft is kept in a fixed position, and flies continuously at the speed of sound for more than 3 hours without moving, this is a huge torture for both the body and the mind. In high-speed flight, especially in high-altitude environments, the air is thin, which requires oxygen supply. If Tony really does what he wants, what will happen? Even Jarvis, an artificial intelligence with the world's top computing power, cannot predict. Do as I say, quickly, Pepper is in danger. Tony roared. While Jarvis began to speed up the production process of Mark III, Tony also started to make a small oxygen mask. Although Tony was impulsive, he was not stupid. If he really flew directly over like this, Tony was confident that he could withstand muscle fatigue and mental fatigue with his willpower, but the oxygen supply problem could not be avoided. So Tony planned to make an oxygen mask first, at least to ensure that he could arrive in New York safely. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Summoning Skeletons. In a studio in Queens, 7 well-dressed young men were busy at their computer desks. Boss, how is the protection fee collected? A young man asked. Don't mention it, I'm going to explode. Many residents have paid 3 years of protection fees in advance. If the boss hadn't stipulated that they could only pay 3 years at a time, I guess they would have paid the protection fee for their entire lives. Oh my god, a lot of data, it's really worrying me to death. The leading young man said. How is your side? What else can I do? It's the same as yours. I never thought that there would be people who would take the initiative to pay the protection fee, even 1 or 2, for fear that they would not be able to pay it if they paid it late. The young man said. This is not the credit of our boss, are you kidding? He is an officially recognized American good citizen. I feel more and more that it was a wise choice to follow the boss. A young man at the window said. There is no doubt that these 7 people are the Rainbow Group under Tobey Maguire. Now, they are affectionately called the Grandson 7 by the citizens of Queens and Brooklyn. The implication is that when all residents see these 7 people, they are as friendly as seeing their own grandchildren. Wow, there are so many grandparents all of a sudden. To be honest, I feel like I'm dreaming. The eldest red-haired man said with emotion. At the beginning, I took you to collect protection fees. Some were beaten, some were scolded, and some couldn't even get in. Later, the boss took action and easily rectified the public security of the entire Queens. Those gangsters joined us one after another, and the 7 of us gradually moved from the front line to management. Now it's good, the boss has invested money and let them start a business, leaving only the 7 of us. And what about those citizens? From driving us away at the beginning, it has become sending money to our door in person now. Knock knock. Just as he was talking, the door of the studio was knocked. Oh. Grandchildren. Come and help. An old man came in carrying 2 baskets of fruit. Grandpa James, what are you doing? Red Hair hurried over and took the basket from the old man. Oh, I see you guys are busy all day and don't even have a bite to eat, so I thought of sending you some fruit to fill your stomach. You guys are working so hard to maintain law and order for us. If it weren't for you, maybe my silly girl would have been eaten by the Spider-Man, just like the girl from La Wang's family next door. Look, now I go out for a walk with your aunt every night. I didn't dare to do that before. The old man said with a look of relief. Red Hair looked helpless, but he finally accepted the fruit from Grandpa James. I still remember that when I went to James's house to collect protection money, I and others were beaten out by James's crutches, but now. Dong dong. Hey, grandchildren, I'm here to pay the protection money, count it quickly. This time, it was an old lady who came in. She first put a small stack of US dollars directly on the table, then thought about it and took out another one. This money is for you to buy some food. Look at you guys, you're busy all day long, remember not to go hungry. Red hair. Orange hair. Yellow hair. Other hair. Ever since Tobey, the Skynet, was on the news, the people who originally turned from haters to fans of the 7 have already praised them to the sky. For the lower class people in the United States, what is the most important thing? Money? Power? No. It's security. The differences in race, beliefs, and rich and poor. All of this makes the shadow of New York, a seemingly glamorous metropolis, full of unknown chaos, violence, and blood. Now, with the emergence of Skynet, they can solve their worries with just a little money. This sense of happiness is simply off the charts. Even some residents in Chinatown have spontaneously set up a longevity ranking for Tobey, and worship him every day, which is enough to show how popular Tobey is now. P.S. Because Chinatown restaurants mainly serve Southern cuisine, I guess they have the same custom of setting up longevity cards as Southerners. Please point out if I am wrong. Bicky Province, Bicky Mine, southern part of the abandoned mine area. Boom. Boom. Explosions came one after another, shaking the inner wall of the entire mine with stone chips falling continuously. -17, -18, -16. Bright red numbers kept floating over the zombies' heads. It's so cool to kill monsters with a soulfire talisman. No more close combat with these rotten things. Marfa exclaimed. After that, the half-moon in his hand was raised high, and a talisman was immediately taken out of the storage space by Marfa, and under the control of mental power, it flew towards the head of a zombie. Boom. The moment the talisman touched the zombie, it immediately exploded, sparks flew, waves of sound, and its power was terrifying. Right. This is what a Taoist priest should look like. It's a pity that it's a bit tiring for the ears. Marfa muttered as he rubbed his eardrums, which were a little painful. Finally, after killing countless zombies, a golden dragon shadow flashed across Marfa's body, and then a warm current flowed out of his body. Done. Level 19. Marfa couldn't wait to take out a skill book that the zombies had dropped from his backpack, and immediately clicked to use it. Summon Skeleton Taoist Secret Book. Use the amulet to summon skeletons from the depths of hell. Required level 19. With great excitement and anxiety, Marfa immediately used the hull escape scroll to leave the mine. First, he simply cleaned his backpack, and then ran to the big knife guard in the central square of Bicky City. Come on, my little cutie. Whoosh. But I saw an amulet floating out from the half-moon blade, and immediately turned into stars and scattered on the ground. Then a stream of white smoke rose from the ground. Kirakara. Kirakara. As the sound of bones rubbing against each other sounded, a humanoid skeleton holding an axe crawled out from the ground. Kirakara. The little skeleton opened its chin, as if calling its master. However, the next second, the broadsword guard beside him appeared behind the little skeleton. Swish! The broadsword guard swung his crescent-shaped sword, and the poor little skeleton fell apart. Only the white bones on the ground proved that it had come to this world. Tisk tisk tisk. I didn't feel much about it when I played games before, but now it seems that this method of practicing summoning levels is so cruel. Marfa murmured, but there was no intention of stopping the movement of his hands. Whoosh! The amulet turned into little fluorescent light and fell on the ground. Kirakara. Kirakara. Xiaobei number 2 was born. Swish! Xiaobei number 2 died. Whoosh! Xiaobei number 3 was born. Swish! Xiaobei number 3 died. Whoosh! Horizontal ellipsis. In less than 5 minutes, there were already white bones under Marfa's feet, like a purgatory on Earth, which looked very scary at first glance. No, I'm dizzy. Kara. Looking at the skill panel showing the summon skeleton skill as level 1, Marfa said hypocritically. Chapter 70 Before Dawn. Character, Marfa. Occupation, Taoist. Level 19, Defense. 3-6, Magic Defense. 3-7, Attack. 6-14, Magic. 0 and 1, Taoist Spells. 3-14, Physical Strength, Blood. 122/122, Magic Value, Blue. 112/112, Skills, Healing Level 3, Mental Combat Level 3, Spider Sense, Cannot Upgrade Level, Poison Level 2, Soul Fire Talisman Level 1, Summon Skeleton Level 1, Equipment, Half Moon, Light Armor, Male, Sturdy Gloves, Top Quality, Taoist Bracelet, Top Quality, Glass Ring 1, Glass Ring 1, Top Quality, Phoenix Pearl, Top Quality, Magic Helmet. Solid Gloves, Top Grade, Durability. 10/10, Defense. 0 and 2, Taoism. 0 and 2, +2, Required Level. 18, Taoist Bracelet, Top Grade, Durability. 9/9, Attack. 0 and 2, +2, Taoism. 0 and 2, +1, Required Level. 19, It must be said that Marfa's luck is quite good. Or in other words, the metaphysical explanation of the last bottle of red potion at the moment of the monster's death is indeed useful. There are only more than 500 zombies, and 4 top-grade equipment have been produced. Excluding the 2 magic-adding equipment that Marfa can't use, both the solid gloves and the Taoist bracelet can be said to be quite good equipment. The 14-point attack power and the upper limit of Taoism mean that now, Marfa's strength and telekinesis have been greatly improved. Even if Marfa only relies on physical strength, he has reached the level of about 2 Captain America. P.S. I would like to correct this here, because the data I found earlier is wrong. Captain America's strength should be about 2 tons. I wrote too much in the previous part, and it is difficult to change it, so I will calculate it as 2 tons in the following part. I looked at the remaining game time, and there were about 1,600 minutes left. It was obviously impossible to upgrade. After brushing zombies for nearly a whole day, even though Marfa had extraordinary mental strength, he felt a little tired. When I was addicted to games before, I didn't feel tired after playing for 2 days and 2 nights. How come I am exhausted after only 1 day and 1 night? Marfa frowned and complained. Of course, Marfa was just thinking about it. After all, this world is a world built based on the legendary game. The process of game also requires players to really carry it out, instead of sitting in front of the computer and clicking the mouse and keyboard as before, which is naturally many times more mentally exhausting. After exiting the game, Marfa closed his eyes and fell into deep sleep. Some are happy and some are sad. Marfa has fallen asleep peacefully, but for Tony Stark, this is destined to be a sleepless night. At this time, the Marka II was ready. Tony Stark put on the Iron Man armor without saying a word and flew towards New York State, where Obadiah and Pepper were. New York State is about 3,800 kilometers away from Tony Stark's beach house in California. If flying at the speed of sound, it will take more than 3 hours to fly, which is a great challenge for Tony Stark, who is still recovering. Jarvis, can you go faster? You know Pepper can't wait that long. Tony sat in the armor with an oxygen mask, and swore in his heart that after this incident, he must move his home in the headquarters of Stark Industries to New York. It's okay at ordinary times, but it's too uncomfortable to fly 3,800 kilometers across the North American continent whenever something happens. Sir, the full power speed of the Marfa II is Mach 3, but with your current physical condition, I'm afraid. Then turn on full power for me, immediately, now, right away. Tony made a decisive decision before Jarvis finished speaking. For Tony now, Pepper is above all else. Okay sir, we're going to speed up. As soon as the words fell, not only the leg jets of Mark III, but also the jets on its back and the jets on its hands began to operate at full power. In an instant, the speed of Mark II increased sharply, like a dazzling meteor, cutting through the night sky of the North American continent. Da da da, da da da, da 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 da. In the underground laboratory of Stark Industries, Obadiah Stane kept tapping the table with his fingertips, trying to use this to reduce the irritability in his heart. From the moment he kidnapped Pepper Potts, it meant that Obadiah officially declared war on Tony Stark. When the time came, to be honest, Obadiah did not feel how excited he was, but instead a kind of inexplicable emptiness and irritability kept lingering in his heart. It has been decades since he met Howard Stark and joined Stark Industries. For decades, Obadiah witnessed Stark Industries rise to glory under Howard's leadership, and also witnessed the decline of Stark Industries after Howard's death. Then Tony took over the power and pushed Stark Industries to the top again with his outstanding talent. It can be said that in Obadiah's eyes, Stark Industries is like his child, growing up. However, nowadays, Tony has a unilateral one-sided opinion and directly stopped the production and research and development of weapons at Stark Industries. This is like the old man next door suddenly running to your house and asking your children not to go to school. Just ask, which father can agree to such a request? What's more, Obadiah's ambition is far more than that. What Obadiah Stane wants to see is Stark Industries. No, from now on it should be called Stane Industries. Obadiah hopes to see Stane Industries defeat all weapons manufacturers including Osborne Industries and Hammer Industries under his leadership, and then monopolize the production of weapons in the world. Because of this, Tony Stark became an obstacle that Obadiah could not get around, and a stumbling block to the great revival of Stane Industries. Alice. With a long sigh, Obadiah took out a cigar from the drawer, and when he stretched out a finger, a strong electric current immediately formed at the fingertips, and the blue arc kept flashing, like a lighter. Well, the cigar is lit. After extinguishing the lighter, Obadiah took a deep puff, as if only the mellow fragrance of the cigar could sweep away the loneliness in his heart. This is the feeling of being invincible. He thought so in his heart. At this time, Pepper Potts, who was sitting opposite Obadiah and witnessing all this, was full of anxiety. The complexity of her mood now can be said to be no less than that of Obadiah. She hoped that Tony would come to save her on the colorful cloud, but she also didn't want Tony to fall into danger because of saving her. At first, everything went exactly as planned. As long as she sneaked into Tony Stark's original office and copied the freight list with a USB flash drive given by Tony, everything would be over. But she didn't know that Obadiah was no longer the same as in the original plot. He had gained power from Bruce Banner and had long been mentally prepared to fight Tony head-on. Therefore, after seeing Pepper, after a little thought, Obadiah decided to take the initiative and threaten Tony directly with Pepper. Obadiah was very fortunate and fortunate for his wise decision, because after kidnapping Pepper, Obadiah easily searched for Tony's USB flash drive on her. Although even this was just a battle, with Obadiah's current combat power, he was not afraid of the mere steel armor, but Obadiah hoped that the initiative was in his own hands, and only in this way could he prove to Tony that he, Obadiah, was far better than Tony Stark in any aspect. In front of the New York office of Stark Industries, in a hamburger restaurant frequented by Tony Stark, Phil Coulson was talking on the phone with a worried look on his face. Because just this morning, he had just contacted Pepper Potts, and the other party was arrested. Although after that, Coulson had sent agents to raid the underground laboratory of Stark Industries many times. However, no one who participated in the operation came back alive. Director, this is what happened. I hope to get more support. Coulson said, a little depressed. After Coulson reported everything, Nick Fury's voice came from the other end of the phone. Didn't you help Natasha get an honorary teacher status before? Maybe you should let her students repay this favor for her. Chapter 71. Coulson is busy. Zzz. The phone rang. Marfa opened his eyes in a daze and picked up the phone from the pillow. He wanted to hang up directly, but when he saw the caller number was unknown, he had to climb down from the bed, open the window, and fly out of the window. There was no other way. Since moving to New York, Marfa and Pietro have become bunk beds. This also made it inconvenient for Marfa to do many things. Hello. Who is this? In the sky above the northern part of Brooklyn, Marfa said with an unhappy face. Sitwell. Marfa Maximov, now is the time for you to contribute to the organization. The voice of the bald fat man came from the other end of the phone. Hearing this, Marfa was immediately shocked. What does it mean? Hydra is going to make trouble? Follow the organization's arrangements. Marfa said seriously. Recently, Tony Stark has made a set of exoskeleton armor, and the organization wants a set to study. Get this done as soon as possible. Sitwell said in a deep voice. Huh. What the hell? Asking for a set of Iron Man armor right away, isn't that embarrassing? With Tony Stark's personality, it's not that easy to get the armor from him in a fair and square way. What's more, Marfa wanted to take advantage of the opportunity of Iron Man versus Ironmonger to gain some favor with Tony and get as much as possible from him. Sitwell, I have no relationship with Tony Stark, it's difficult to get the armor. And even if I get the armor for you, you can't use it without the permission given by Tony Stark. Marfa thought for a while and said. That's not something you should worry about. According to reliable intelligence, Obadiah has kidnapped Tony Stark's personal secretary, Pepper Potts. Now Tony Stark is wearing his Iron Man armor and heading to New York. You must make good use of this opportunity. Once you get this done, I'll arrange a chance for you to meet Mr. Pierce in person. Whether you can get Mr. Pierce's attention depends on you. That's no problem. Leave it to me. Marfa said, patting her chest. Sitwell's phone had just been hung up when another unknown number called in. It's Marfa Maximov, right? I'm Phil Cowlson, a Level 7 agent of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. I'm temporarily recruiting you now. You must come to the office building of Stark Industries in Manhattan immediately. The situation is urgent. I'll tell you in detail when you arrive. I refuse. Marfa rejected Cowlson's request at once. Are you kidding? He just took a mission from Hydra, and now he's taking a mission from S.H.I.E.L.D. He really thinks he's free labor. Obviously, Cowlson did not expect Marfa to refuse his order, and for a moment, he did not react. After all, since Cowlson joined S.H.I.E.L.D., he has never refused a task assigned by the organization. Marfa, this is the authority given to me by the director. As an extra staff agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., you must know how to obey. Cowlson's face darkened and he said seriously. I'm sorry, Mr. Cowlson. It is clearly written in the employment contract between Toby and me that we have the right to refuse temporary requisition tasks issued by everyone except the director. Even if the director personally issues a task, we can refuse it 3 times a year. Cowlson. What kind of nonsense did Natasha teach her, and what does this weird contract mean? Are you deliberately disgusting me, Phil Cowlson? Cowlson thought secretly in his heart. Well, what do you want to do in order to act? Cowlson said helplessly. According to Mr. Romanoff, you are the honorary principal of Midtown High School. Do you think I can get a scholarship this year? Marfa asked shamelessly. Yes. Cowlson said affirmatively. After all, he still had this power. How much? 50,000 US dollars. I'm sleepy. 200,000 US dollars. Buy. 1 million, I'll give it to you in my personal name. You have to know that public schools can't give out so many scholarships. Cowlson gritted his teeth and went all out. Then you can have fun by yourself. I have to get up early to go to school tomorrow. 10 million. I'll ask Tony Stark for it for you. This is my limit. I'll give it to you in the name of sponsoring scientific research projects. If you still think it's not enough, I'll find someone else. Guessing that this should be Cowlson's bottom line, Marfa stopped insisting immediately. After all the money Marfa earned before was given to Samuel, and her family happened to be quite short of money. Will it be paid in a week? The price was agreed, so of course they had to talk about the payment time. As long as you can do the job well, give me 2 weeks, and I will help you apply for an extra bonus from the bureau. Okay, Mr. Principal, please wait, I'll be there soon. After hanging up the phone, Marfa hurried back to the room. HU. It was already winter, and Marfa forgot to close the window when she went out just now. The cold wind blew, and Pietro in the quilt shivered. "Sorry, brother." Opening the secret compartment in the ceiling, Marfa put on the outfit he had prepared in advance. A long windbreaker with a hood was draped over the pure black tight combat uniform. Under the brim of the hat, a white mask covered Marfa's face. At first glance, it looked like a dark night. When Marfa flew out of the window again, Pietro slowly poked his head out of the quilt. "It's so late, and you went out after receiving a phone call? The key is that outfit." As if he thought of something, Pietro frowned immediately. He immediately got up from the bed, opened a secret compartment on the floor, and took out a silver-gray carbon fiber suit. As the eldest of 3 siblings, Pietro has been keeping an eye on his younger brother who has been making trouble recently. Whenever he thought of the monster that appeared in Midtown High School before, Pietro was scared. Fortunately, he showed up in time, otherwise if Marfa was injured, he would be a big brother. After changing into combat uniform, Pietro turned over and jumped out of the window. Then he stepped on the wall as if walking on flat ground and chased in the direction where Marfa left. At this time, Tony Stark finally flew to New York State. "Sir, it's less than 200 kilometers away from New York City now. I suggest you stop and rest for a while to recharge your energy. Mark III has been flying at full load for a long time. Proper cooling of the body can work better." Jarvis' voice rang in Tony's ears. But Tony Stark is not in a very good condition at this time. After all, he had not recovered from a serious illness, and his health was not very good to begin with. Moreover, he continued to fly at a speed of Mach 3 for a long time without any auxiliary hardware. For Tony Stark now, both his mind and body have begun to show signs of fatigue. No, keep up this speed, we will fly directly to New York," Tony Stark said firmly. "Sir, an unknown number has applied for access. Do you want to answer it?" Jarvis reminded. "Check the identity information and caller address of the number owner." "Okay, please wait." 5 seconds later. Phil Coulson, an agent of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency, is currently located in the hamburger restaurant opposite the New York office building of Stark Industries. The specific information needs to be further hacked into the server of the department. Do you need to execute a program to invade? No, just answer it. Tony Stark knew a little about the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. After all, with his identity and technology, some secret departments were not secrets to him. "Hello, Mr. Stark, this is the Homeland Strategy." Phil Coulson's voice rang in Tony's ears. "Get to the point." Tony interrupted. "Well, we have sent a superpower to rescue Miss Potts, so I hope you can trust our professionalism and minimize the impact on the public." Coulson is indeed a veteran agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Although he has never met Tony, he has analyzed Tony's plan at this time from the intelligence. If he really wears the iron armor and breaks into the building to rob people, I'm afraid it will cause a stir in the entire Manhattan area. In the end, it is Coulson himself who has to clean up the mess. It is better to take precautions in advance than to mend the fold after the sheep have been sheeped. Let's talk about this after you rescue Pepper. Tony hung up the phone without saying a word. Things have calmed to this point. At this time, Tony can no longer care about the social impact. Pepper's life safety is what he cares about most. Chapter 72 Breaking into the building. "Mr. Principal, you didn't have to wait long." In the hamburger shop, Marfa sat down opposite Coulson and shrugged. "Are you Marfa?" Looking at the figure in front of him wearing a black windbreaker, a hood, and a white mask on his face, Coulson asked hesitantly. "What else? But I still like you to call me Shadow. After all, I'm still a student. I don't want to be surrounded by a group of fans everywhere after today," Marfa said narcissistically. Coulson, the honorary principal of Midtown High School, can be said to have heard a lot about Marfa. It seems that he is really a guy who is very popular with girls. Especially the silver hair and the face with a bit of naughtiness in the sunshine, he is simply the nemesis of rebellious girls. No wonder he has to wear a mask and a hood. Thinking of this in his heart, Coulson couldn't help but look up to Marfa. After all, as an agent, if he can't even hide his identity, he is too unqualified. "Where's Skynet? Did they come with you?" Seeing Marfa was alone, Coulson couldn't help but ask curiously. "You didn't ask me to notify him, and besides, he should be busy competing with the Kingpin gang at this point. I heard that the Kingpin gang is very active recently. Let's not waste any more time. I'll give you a team." You have to go to the underground laboratory in the opposite building and rescue Pepper Potts before Tony Stark arrives. Coulson said and called a team of 7 people. Forget it, I'm telling you clearly that this matter is not as simple as you think. I also think your team is completely unnecessary, and it will be useless if you go. Marfa's words naturally made sense. Under his operation, Obadiah Stane has already had some contact with Bruce Banner. If Obadiah has a little brain, he will not let go of Banner's powerful fighting power. Therefore, there is a high probability that there are 2 bosses in the current laboratory waiting for Tony Stark to take the bait. How powerful is the Hulk? The angrier he is, the stronger he is. Bullets are just tickles to him, and airplanes and armored vehicles are just toys to him. Not to mention the nameless extras in front of him. Even if 7 Natashas are arranged to come over, it is not enough for the Hulk to play. Of course, if Natasha directly uses seduction, it will be another matter. In the original plot, whether it is to Betty or Natasha, Hulk has shown a rare gentle side. Marfa really can't figure it out. Hulk is just a personality that has only been born for a few years. According to his age, he is only more than 2 years old. Why is he so lewd? What does it mean to be weak in the legs when seeing a woman? Marfa's words are naturally reasonable, but they are not pleasant to the ears of the 7 people. Others don't know, but they heard it with their own ears. Marfa just said that he was just a student. A mere student is so crazy in front of professionally trained agents like them. For a while, the eyes of the 7 people when they looked at Marfa were filled with a few traces of anger. Ignoring the looks of the crowd, Marfa waved to Coulson and the others and walked straight towards the building. Marfa's level is less than 20 now, he can't learn invisibility, and he doesn't have the legendary invisibility ring. He won't make the stupid mistake of flesh. After all, this is someone else's territory. If the power is turned off, it will be troublesome for Marfa who is not familiar with the terrain. It's better to go head on than to do this. In any case, Obadiah's target is Tony Stark. Before Tony appears, Obadiah can't kill him. As for what to do when he encounters the Hulk, Marfa has already made a plan in his mind. Although he doesn't want to do that, if it really comes to that, Marfa doesn't mind using poisoning, soul fire charms and flying ability to kite the opponent to death. Walking into the building, all the staff had already been dispersed under Coulson's arrangement. Come out, Ziobe. I saw a talisman in front of Marfa turned into stars and fell to the ground. Then a humanoid skeleton holding an axe crawled out of the ground. Explore the way ahead. Target underground laboratory. Kirakara. The skeleton seemed to understand Marfa's instructions, nodded slightly, waved the axe in his hand and walked towards the direction of the underground laboratory. At the same time, in the underground laboratory, Obadiah was watching Marfa's every move through the surveillance video. Huh, interesting. Is this a robot in the form of a skeleton? And holding a broken axe? Ha ha ha. Looking at Ziobe's shabby appearance, Obadiah couldn't help laughing. Pepper, look quickly, is this the superhero you've been waiting for? He actually brought a robot with an axe to deal with me? Ha ha ha. At this time, Pepper's face was also not good looking. Of course, she was not mocking Marfa like Obadiah. It's just that Pepper knew clearly how powerful the passage in front of Marfa was at this moment. All the agents sent by Coulson before were defeated here. The man in the surveillance video actually brought a skeleton robot to save himself alone. Doesn't that mean that another life is going to be ruined? Pepper had seen Tony's iron armor before. The cold metal feeling and the complex mechanical structure inside made people feel powerful at a glance. But what about the skeleton in front of him? He just took a broken axe. The difference between the two is like heaven and earth. Marfa naturally had no idea what Pepper and Obadiah were thinking. The passage in the basement was very long, roughly estimated to be about 400 meters. Even if 5 people walked side by side, it would not feel crowded at all. There were many tempered glass doors on both sides of the passage, and behind the doors were laboratories full of equipment. According to Coulson's description, the end of the passage was where Obadiah was. Kirakara. The sound of Ziobe's bones rubbing against each other kept echoing in the passage, which was particularly creepy. Suddenly, countless gun muzzles suddenly stretched out from the walls on both sides, and without saying a word, they began to shoot at Marfa. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. For a moment, the bullets were like dandruff in the sun, flying everywhere. The sound waves made Marfa's eardrums hurt. Damn it, I knew it would be like this. Marfa complained. He immediately activated his telekinesis. An invisible air wall immediately blocked Marfa. Xiaobei, chop them. As Marfa gave the order, Xiaobei immediately waved the axe in his hand and rushed forward. Kirakira. Pa pa pa. The bullets shot at Xiaobei mercilessly, but Xiaobei's defense was 3 points better than Marfa's at this time. Every bullet that landed on Xiaobei could only barely make a dent, and it was completely unable to stop Xiaobei's desperate charge. In the blink of an eye, Xiaobei had already arrived near the muzzle of a gun. He raised the axe in his hand high and chopped at the gun barrel with extremely skillful techniques. Bang! The axe chopped the gun barrel into 2 pieces, and the cut was smooth and flat, like a mirror. Well done. He casually cast a level 3 healing spell on Xiaobei. The bullet marks on Xiaobei's body disappeared immediately, and he looked the same as when he was just summoned. Keep up the momentum, come on. After we're done, I'll buy you a bottle of watch wax and make sure you're polished to shine. Chapter 73, Smart Xiaobei. Marfa's promise was doomed to fail, because just as he finished speaking, several black gun barrels really stretched out from the wall at the end of the passage. Fuck you. What's the fuss? Is it that serious? This is your family's own property, and you actually installed this thing in the basement. To be honest, Marfa was also shocked by this scene. You have to know that this is the upper part of Manhattan, and everyone living nearby is either rich or noble. If the office building collapses and hits someone, there is no doubt that this person is probably a small local tyrant. But even so, Obadiah didn't care at all and still stretched his gun barrel towards Marfa. If there was only one, Marfa would not hesitate to destroy it with telekinesis or the remote output of the soulfire symbol, but looking at the full row of irregularly arranged gun barrels, even Marfa would have to be scared. Run. Marfa only had this thought now. But would Obadiah watch Marfa run away? Obviously not. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of shells being fired one after another was heard, and dozens of shells were like sharks that smelled blood, sweeping towards Marfa frantically. Fuck you. Marfa cursed inwardly. Xiaobei, hold on. I will miss you. This time for sure. As soon as the voice fell, Marfa immediately controlled telekinesis to turn into a rope, simulated Toby's movement, and pulled his body out at the fastest speed. At the same time, he also controlled the telekinesis to form a barrier on the spot, trying to reduce the impact of the explosion. Boom, boom, boom. Flames were everywhere, and Xiaobei blocked all the shells from Marfa with his weak body. Of course, it also completed its mission and turned into bone slag all over the sky. No, it should be called ashes. At this time, Marfa, with the help of telekinesis, had already run to the staircase. But despite this, the powerful shock wave generated by the explosion still easily shattered Marfa's telekinetic barrier, and after spreading for dozens of meters, it blasted Marfa directly to the first floor. Cough, cough, cough. The strong smell of gunpowder made Marfa cough repeatedly. Fortunately, there were several corners in the middle, so although Marfa looked embarrassed, he was not injured. It is worthy of being a product of Stark Industries. I give it full marks for this power. Marfa murmured. Shadow, did you hear it? What happened just now? Is the hostage okay? Carlson's voice came from the headset. MMP, why don't you ask me first? Marfa complained crazily. You are an agent. Completing the mission first is the most basic requirement for an agent. Hearing Marfa's voice, Carlson felt much more at ease, but as a senior, whether for Marfa's future or as a member of SHIELD, Carlson immediately started beeping. It's just that the words sounded serious, but also with a bit of caring. There was no way. Carlson was a good guy, but the image of a SHIELD agent could not be ruined. After all, there were still 7 agents watching him. Come back if it doesn't work. We'll make another plan. Don't force Obadiah to kill his hostage because of your recklessness. The explosion just now was so loud that it could be heard by Carlson and others who were not in the building. Marfa was a member of SHIELD and a precious superpower. Although the mission was important, Carlson was also worried about Marfa's safety. Therefore, after a little consideration, he planned to let Marfa retreat first. Of course, he thought so in his heart, but he couldn't say it out loud, otherwise how could he be a small leader in the future? On the roof of the hamburger restaurant, through the glass of the building, Pietro looked at Marfa's blurry figure and couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Damn that brat, does he know what he's doing? And those guys in the store, what's the trick? How dare they let Marfa do such a dangerous thing? Pietro secretly clenched his fists, and in his heart he wanted to rush down and learn the way Marfa dealt with the gangsters before, and reward them with 2 poached eggs each. Hiss. What's going on? Why do I suddenly feel a little cold, and there is still a hint of chill in my crotch? Carlson downstairs secretly tightened his clothes, and then turned up the air conditioner a few degrees, and then he felt a little comfortable. At this time, Marfa saw that the gunpowder smell in the passage had almost dissipated, and immediately started to head towards the laboratory again. Summon the skeleton. The amulet turned into stars and fell to the ground. Another little white was born. Young man, do a good job, and I will buy you a dial wax later, and I will make you shiny. Marfa encouraged. Kirakara. The little white made a sound of bones rubbing from his mouth. As if saying, I don't believe it. You lied to my ex in the same way before. One person and one bone walked into the passage again. I have to say that Stark Industries is really rich. Look at the quality of this project. So many bombs exploded, even the metal on the wall was melted, but the passage didn't collapse at all. Chinese real estate developers should learn from this. P.S. I want to complain about my community. There is no wall, only a circle of barbed wire. Xiaobei. Go faster. The passage is like this, there must be no mechanism. What are you afraid of? Seeing Xiaobei moving slowly step by step, Marfa couldn't help but frown energized. However, at this moment, dozens of laser beams were shot out from the opposite wall. Those beams intertwined with each other, and moved horizontally towards Marfa like a fishing net. All obstacles that blocked its way forward were cut into pieces by the laser net in an instant. Fuck. Xiaobei, block it quickly, I'll retreat first. As soon as the voice fell, Marfa turned around and ran back. But I didn't expect that Xiaobei had already run 100 meters away. That speed was totally not what a skeleton should have. Compared with the previous step-by-step movement, it simply refreshed Marfa's understanding of skeletons. What the hell? This Xiaobei is poisonous. Karalaka. Xiaobei in the distance shouted while running, as if saying, Master, stop it quickly, I'll retreat first. Marfa, what the hell? Looks like I have to rely on myself. Thinking of this, Marfa turned around and used telekinesis to keep his body moving backwards. At the same time, a talisman appeared in his hand. Soulfire Talisman. Boom. The Soulfire Talisman flew out at high speed and exploded immediately when it hit the laser launcher. In an instant, the launcher was blown into pieces by the Soulfire Talisman. At the same time, the laser net became much sparser. There's a chance. Come again. Soulfire Talisman. Soulfire Talisman. Boom. Boom. 2 more explosions sounded. The remaining 2 laser launchers were also turned into pieces under the attack of the Soulfire Talisman. However, at this moment, a white figure rushed out from behind Marfa. Kirakara. Xiaobei raised the axe in his hand and shouted while running. It seemed that he was going to fight the enemy to the death. When it rushed to the location of the previous laser launcher, it immediately raised its axe and chopped at the rail on the wall. Pa. 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 The axe chopped on the rail, and pieces of debris fell to the ground. Xiaobei turned around and gave Marfa a yeah, as if to show off his victory. Marfa, Chapter 74, Hot Pot. Summon skeletons. Use the amulet to summon skeletons from the depths of hell. In other words, these skeletons are not products of magic, but alien creatures that originally lived somewhere, and are individuals with independent consciousness. Different people have different personalities, and so do the skeletons summoned by Marfa. In the past, when playing games, the summoned skeletons were just a bunch of data, so no player ever cared about the life or death of the skeletons. Of course, if it is a skeleton that has been trained to level 7, the player will still cherish it a little. But now it is different. Judging from the words and deeds of this little white, compared with its fearless predecessors, it is obviously more individual. Although this is a bad thing for Marfa, after all, a summoned creature that will not take the knife for the master is not a good younger brother. But Marfa inexplicably likes this little white in front of him. Thinking of this, when looking at the little white in front of him, Marfa suddenly felt that this guy was quite handsome. It seems that in the future in the real world, I should try not to take Xiaobei seriously as I did before. Just when Marfa had this idea. Ling. Congratulations to the host for having a good conscience. Reward the host with a new skill, Cancel Summon. When using the skill, if an extra amulet is consumed, the summoned creature after the summon will be stored in the amulet. Use the amulet to use the skill again to summon it again. Note, since the summoned creatures in the legendary world do not have independent consciousness, they cannot be stored in the amulet. Well, this means playing Pokemon. It's just that the Pokeball is replaced with an amulet. Kirakura. As if sensing something, Xiaobei immediately showed off to Marfa. His swaying skeleton seemed to fall apart at any time, which looked very funny. Okay, stop showing off, but let's make a deal first. I won't let you do the job of sending yourself to death in the future, but you don't always think about running away. Otherwise, I will tear you apart and make soup for Pietro. Do you understand? Marfa said in a pretended angry tone. Kirakura. Xiaobei immediately pointed to the sky and nodded. The man and the skeleton continued to walk towards the end of the passage. This time there were no more accidents, and they soon arrived at the gate of the passage. Xiaobei, smash the door. Kirakura. Xiaobei raised his axe high and chopped at the gate. Zzz. However, at this moment, a burst of electric sparks did flash on the gate. Obviously, the metal door was electrified. Xiaobei, who was numbed by the electric shock, turned around and looked at Marfa pitifully. As if to say that you tricked me again. Okay, it's my fault. How could I know that this thing was electrified? You get out of the way and watch my performance next. Before Marfa finished speaking, Xiaobei immediately ran behind Marfa. Marfa, could it be that my posture was wrong when I summoned just now? Or do you need to choose an auspicious day to summon creatures in the real world? Otherwise, how could you make such a thing? Marfa couldn't help but complain. He took out another amulet from his backpack and held it between his index and middle fingers. Just as Marfa was about to use the Soulfire Talisman skill, the door opened. Pa. The lights suddenly lit up, and the figures of Obadiah and Pepper appeared in Marfa's sight. Obadiah held a cigar in his right hand, and his left hand kept slapping the palm of his right hand, as if he had just watched a very interesting movie. However, when Marfa saw Obadiah clearly, he was frightened by the person in front of him. Where is Ironmonger? Where is the Hulk? How did he become cyborg? That's right, in Marfa's opinion, the current Obadiah Stane is exactly the same as the cyborg in the next universe. P.S. If you can't imagine it, you can buy 2DC Cyborg. Maybe at first glance, Obadiah still has some shadows of Iron Man, but if you look closely, you can see many parts of the human body on his mechanical body. Obviously, Obadiah did not follow the pure technology route of Ironmonger as in the original plot, but took the route of mechanical life transformation? Marfa couldn't help thinking in her heart. Welcome to Stanny Industries. Obadiah casually picked up a glass of red wine from his side, put it to his lips and took a sip. I just saw your little guy, I'm very interested. How about it? Are you interested in working for me? Women, money, status. I can give you everything you want. Obadiah pointed to Xiaobei next to Marfa and said. Obviously, he regarded Xiaobei as a mechanical creature. At first, Obadiah was quite disdainful of Xiaobei. Until Xiaobei faced the laser cutting net, he abandoned Marfa and ran away first. The subsequent performance was even more humane. For ordinary people, they might not care much about this, but as a semi-mechanical life form, Obadiah Stanny saw another route to push Stanny Industries to the top: intelligent robots. In 2004, a movie called I, Robot was released in the United States. The robots in the movie were able to think independently and complete the instructions according to the master's requirements under the general rules. At first, Obadiah also attended the premiere of this movie, so he knew the content very well. He even fantasized about using the technology of Stark Industries to restore the robots in the movie. However, ideals are full, but reality is skinny. Whether it is the problem of energy supply or the problem of autonomous thinking of mechanical bodies, this has restricted the development of this route. As we all know, the reason why computers can respond and judge the instructions given is entirely because of the pre-recorded program, and then through a large amount of data calculation, it can be realized. Even artificial intelligence like Jarvis, which stands at the pinnacle of technology, is no more than this. P.S. Lobster thinks that Jarvis is different from other Tony's artificial intelligence. He has independent consciousness and emotions. He is the only exception. This is the setting here, and Obadiah doesn't know this. However, what did Obadiah see just now? The robot of the man in black robes in the surveillance video actually abandoned his master and ran away. Obadiah didn't believe that any idiot would set up such a program to abandon the master in advance. The only possibility is that the robot that looks like a skeleton has independent consciousness. In Obadiah's view, as long as he can master Zyobei's technology, he can debug it and mass-produce it. Dual use for military and civilian purposes. Its significance is even far greater than the semi-mechanized super soldier he originally envisioned. It is for this reason that Obadiah took the initiative to give up blocking Marfa and let him and Zyobei enter the laboratory smoothly. Obadiah's sudden recruitment really scared Marfa. When did he become so popular? SHIELD wants to recruit him. The Kingpin gang is also trying to win over his family recently, and even Hydra has recruited him. Good guy, even Obadiah is like this now. Could it be that the other party knows that I am a time traveler? No, it's impossible. Marfa directly rejected his guess. Looking at Marfa's hesitation, Obadiah even raised the stakes. As long as you are willing to join me, I can give you 20% of the shares. How about it? Stanny Industries, that is, 20% of the shares of the current Stark Industries, which is enough for you to have everything. To be honest, Marfa was really tempted. 20% of the shares of Stark Industries. How much money would that cost? No, sir, don't listen to him, he is just deceiving you. With Tony here, he won't succeed, believe me. As long as you save me, I am willing to give you all my savings. Pepper Potts on the side also immediately offered her own price. But unlike Mary Jane asked for help by giving up all her dignity to live a miserable life, while Pepper Potts was worried that Obadiah would pose a greater threat to the world after getting Marfa's help. Of course, the most important thing is that if Marfa can save her, then Tony doesn't need to take risks. As long as Tony is safe and sound, Pepper is not afraid of death. Chapter 75 Misunderstanding. Ha ha ha. Marfa laughed. I'm really curious, Mr. Obadiah. You are willing to pay 20% of the group's shares to recruit me. What do you see in me? Hearing this, Obadiah couldn't help but frown. Isn't this asking knowingly? Could it be that you are attracted by your male beauty? As the second in command of Stark Industries, although he is not as indulgent as Tony Stark, he has seen countless women and men, so how could he be blinded by male beauty? Sir, you should understand what I mean. Why are you playing dumb here? If you think 20% is not enough, we can talk. Obadiah was very concerned about Zyobei's skills, so he relaxed his bottom line appropriately. Of course, if Marfa still didn't know the situation, Obadiah didn't mind showing him some color. However, these words made Marfa even more confused. I understand? I understand nothing. Marfa asked herself that she was just a high school student. Apart from her strength and system, and her foresight of some future events, if she was mixed up with Obadiah, she would not provide him with anything useful. But since Obadiah said so, Marfa didn't mind pretending to be nice to him first. In short, as Carlson said, the mission comes first. I want her, Pepper Potts. Now. Marfa pointed to Pepper beside her and said. Hearing this, Pepper immediately showed an incredible expression. Oh my god. Pepper never dreamed that someone would give up 20% of Stark Industries shares for her. Of course, this was just a surprise. Pepper had someone in her heart, and only that person. No matter what Marfa did, she would not fall in love with someone else, not to mention that this way of trading people as objects made Pepper feel a little uncomfortable instinctively. Even if it was only 20% of the shares. Okay. Interesting. Since ancient times, heroes have been unable to resist the temptation of beauty. Unlike Pepper, Obadiah laughed out loud. Pepper Potts was just a chess piece for Obadiah to threaten Tony Stark. Now Tony Stark was rushing here, and he had such a powerful force. Obadiah didn't believe that Tony could still make a comeback. Therefore, Pepper was now dispensable. If a mere woman could be exchanged for the skeleton robot in front of him, wouldn't it be a great value? Woman, you can take it now, but you have to leave me something to show your sincerity and cooperation. Obadiah pointed to Zyobei next to Marfa and said. Kirakara. Zyobei pointed at himself with his index finger, tilted his head and showed a puzzled look. Okay, Zyobei will be left to you. I'll take Pepper away first, okay? I don't want to fight with Tony's Iron Man armor. If I have that time, I might as well spend some time with Miss Pepper. Ha ha ha. Marfa said. Please help yourself. Obadiah shrugged and reopened the door of the laboratory. Dream on. I'm not going anywhere. You can't get me. But at this moment, Pepper took a few steps back and looked at Marfa with a vigilant face. I didn't expect that the black-robed man who risked his life to come here was not a good person. As if thinking of something, Pepper tightened her collar, fearing that she would be exposed somewhere and let the bastard in front of her get away with it. Marfa, big sister, don't you look at your age? You are already 30 years old, but you are still a virgin. How can you compare with those students who are good at sex and skilled? I just want to save you and brush up Tony's favorability. Look how conceited you are. Of course, Marfa only thought about this in her mind, but it was impossible to say it out loud. As for exchanging Xiaobei for Pepper, Marfa naturally had a plan. The legendary Taoist priests can usually only carry one summoned beast. If a summoned beast has been summoned, then using the summoning skill again will make the summoned beast teleport to their side. Marfa knew this and kept Xiaobei. When she walked away, Xiaobei came back with a summoning skill. By then, Obadiah's nose will be crooked. Of course, Pepper Potts had no way of knowing what Marfa was thinking. After all, she couldn't read minds. At this time, in Pepper's eyes, the man in black in front of her was just a low-class lecher. Not only did she collude with an ambitious man like Obadiah, she also wanted to do something to her. Pepper immediately picked up a pen from the side and put it against her throat. No, don't come over here. If you take another step forward, I will die here. You can't get me. Pepper threatened. At first, Obadiah didn't care much about Pepper's life or death. Besides, with him around, Pepper couldn't slip away in front of Obadiah. Therefore, Obadiah didn't mean to tie Pepper up. But he didn't expect that this woman would be so strong. If he really stabbed her, wouldn't it ruin his good deeds? Thinking of this, Obadiah frowned and wanted to give her an electric therapy package to make her behave. Obadiah put his fingers together to form a gun, and a blue arc of electricity jumped at his fingertips. Wait, my woman, I can do it myself. How could Marfa watch Pepper get hurt in front of him? He immediately reached out and grabbed her, and the invisible telekinesis started. The pen in Pepper's hand was immediately crushed into pieces by Marfa. Then the telekinesis changed again, tightly wrapped around Pepper like a giant python, and slowly floated beside Marfa. I'll take the person away. After the voice fell, Marfa turned and left. At this time, boom! A pulse cannon blasted a big hole in the ceiling of the laboratory. Tony. Tony. Save me. Oh, no. Go away. Leave here, don't worry about me. Pepper, who was floating in the air behind Marfa, shouted. There is no doubt that the person who came was Iron Man Tony Stark, who flew thousands of kilometers from California and hurried over. Sir, there are only two targets. The agents sent by the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency to rescue Ms. Potts died in the passage. According to infrared detection, there are no signs of life. At present, the remaining people are all on standby at the hamburger shop opposite. There is also a person with huge energy fluctuations on the roof of the hamburger shop. It is suspected that he is the superpower Callison mentioned. As soon as Jarvis entered the laboratory, he scanned and analyzed the surrounding environment. Damn, it's a good thing I came early. If I listened to those rubbish, wouldn't Pepper be in danger? Tony secretly rejoiced in his heart. At this time, Marfa, who rolled Pepper in the air, was very embarrassed. This matter was embarrassing. Maybe he didn't get the good sensitivity, but was targeted by Tony. Sure enough, Tony didn't care about Obadiah at the side at all. He just dodged and rushed towards Marfa in the Mark III. This was also because Pepper was close to Marfa at the time, so Tony was cautious, otherwise Tony might have directly fired a small missile at Marfa. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.